Chapter 68. Gu Fei walked alone on the street. There was no one around. Since he had nothing to do, he couldn't help but take out the Night Streak sword to admire. As a martial artist, Gu Fei didn't care much about clothes, but he had a special love for weapons. He felt that this sword was very suitable for him, and its design was also very much to his liking. Even in the real world, he had never owned a weapon that suited him so well. Just as he was enjoying himself, he suddenly heard a commotion in front of him. Then he saw a group of people appear at the end of the street, waving weapons in their hands as they fought. As they fought, the battlefield turned from the intersection into this alley. Someone shouted, "Don't let these guys get away." Gu Fei frowned. He was lazy, so he took the shortcut that the guy who had given him directions had recommended. This wasn't a street. In fact, it was just a pitifully narrow gap between two rows of houses. When this group of people rushed in and started fighting, the entire alley was completely blocked. Gu Fei felt that even if he continued forward, the other side would definitely not stop and let him go over to continue fighting. Turn back? Gu Fei looked behind him. The moment he heard the sound, he immediately felt tired. He really didn't want to turn back, so he gripped the sword in his right hand and pulled out the baptism of fire in his left hand, continuing forward. In the blink of an eye, he was right in front of them. Naturally, the two fighting parties had noticed Gu Fei. Their hands seemed to relax slightly. Gu Fei, however, seemed to not see the people fighting here. He lowered his head and walked forward. Be careful!" A man on the left shouted. Just as he thrust his dagger forward, Gu Fei's men forced their way between the two of them. However, even though this person shouted to be careful, his hands did not seem to have any intention of stopping. Gu Fei didn't care about this person's attitude. As he approached, he raised the baptism of flames in his left hand and blocked the incoming attack. Then, he took a step forward and moved out of the range of the two's attacks. This time, the guy on the right screamed again. He raised his greatsword above his head and smashed it down. Gu Fei didn't dare to block this kind of heavy warrior's attack head-on. Seeing that the two people in front of him had stopped fighting, he quickly took a step forward. With a toot sound, the giant sword brushed past the back of Gu Fei's head and swung down. At this moment, he extended his left and right hands simultaneously, just in time to block two attacks from his left and right. He took a step forward and dodged another pair of attacks. In the blink of an eye, he had already passed through three groups of people. Gu Fei dodged, blocked, and evaded. His pace fluctuated between fast and slow as he forcibly passed through two groups of people fighting. Putting the Dark Knight streamer and baptism of flames back into his pocket, Gu Fei dusted off his sleeves and stuffed his hands into his sleeves. Then, without looking back, he continued to walk to the side. There was no longer any fighting going on in the alley. The two groups of people were frozen in place. After staring at each other for a moment, everyone still hadn't figured out what had just happened. That person? He walked over? One person looked at the weapon in his hand and doubted this fact. It seems like he walked over? Another person answered this question with the same doubtful tone. How did he walk over? Another person continued to doubt. It seems like that, then, ouch. This person had been imitating Gu Fei's movements just now, and it could be considered quite lifelike. Suddenly, a pained expression appeared on his face as he held his waist. What's wrong? Everyone was shocked. I twisted my waist. This movement is extremely difficult. You guys try it, this person cried out. And so, everyone tried. In the end, half of the people couldn't do it at all. The other half twisted their waist because they used too much force. The degree of twisting depended on how much force they used. A group of people cried out in pain. What's going on? A figure gradually appeared out of thin air and ran over. It was the guy who had given Gu Fei directions. Because walking speed was greatly reduced in stealth mode, he could only stare at Gu Fei from afar, and the further he stared, the further he went. When he turned into this alley, he realized that there was no trace of Gu Fei. His group of brothers immediately showed themselves and ran over while babbling. That guy left? So many of you didn't stop him? This person was surprised. More than 10 brothers, and half of them seemed to be injured. Everyone's face turned red. How should they explain this? They had let Gu Fei pass without even realizing it. This injury was caused by themselves in the process of thinking about it. It was too embarrassing. What's that guy's profession? Someone tried to change the topic. Yeah. What profession? He has a very strange skill. Seeing someone else do something that they couldn't, everyone was sure that Gu Fei must have a special skill that they didn't have. That person? Is he a mage? The guide said with some guilt. I thought you couldn't identify him? Someone said. How do you know he's a mage? Didn't you see he was wearing a mage robe? The guide replied. Who said that wearing a mage robe means he's a mage? None of us think he looks like a mage. Someone said. Yes, he's not a mage. Besides, it's hard to tell if it's a mage robe. It's black. You didn't identify it, someone added. Black mage robes had indeed never appeared in the game so far. Players all thought that mages and priests were recognized as holy professions and wouldn't be dyed black. Things like black were probably reserved for rogue professions that were literally wretched. The guide stammered and didn't know what to say. In the end he said, if it's not a mage robe, then what's his clothes? No one could answer, but someone added, the sword in his hand is super cool. I've never seen it before either. Fuck, stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and chase. Someone shouted, hurry up. Where will he go next? Someone took out a map. I gave him directions. He should be like this. The guide gestured on the map. But he's already seen us. I'm afraid he'll recognize us again, someone said. Looks like we can't pretend it was an accident. Let's do it openly. Someone said. Everyone nodded. Mask your face. Someone said. Everyone excitedly took out triangular masks from their pockets. Their expressions were very sincere. Thank you players from Cloud City for coming up with such a good way to hide our identity. We'll be on the road to prosperity from now on, someone said solemnly. Thank you. Everyone nodded. This is our first time using it. Be more professional. Don't let the players from Cloud City laugh at us, this person said. Everyone nodded solemnly again. Very good. The man looked around at his brothers and took out a piece of paper from his pocket. On it was written the number 27149. This is the first Grandmaster of our sect. Although we don't know his name or what he looks like, his glorious record of 15 PK points per day will remain forever. I hope he will bless us. After saying that, the man lit the note on fire. Everyone clasped their hands in front of their chest and silently prayed. Someone broke the silence and raised his hand. Boss, I heard that this person didn't even pick up the dropped equipment. He doesn't seem to be in the same profession as us. Don't be so calculative. Just make do, boss said. Everyone continued to pray. The ceremony ended. Gu Fei, who was 100 meters away, sneezed the loudest he'd ever sneezed since he entered the game. How are you guys? Boss asked. They all had the same posture, one hand holding a sword, the other hand on their hips. They were the ones who imitated Gu Fei's movements and twisted their bodies. We're fine. This is our first masked mission. We definitely want to participate, they declared. Very good, boss nodded. Next, everyone get ready. Mask your face. Once the boss gave the order, everyone covered their faces with a mask. Let's go. We'll let the players of Cloud City see the masked professionals from Moonlit Night City, boss shouted. Let's go. Let's go. The group of bandits set off valiantly. Boss, on the other hand, frowned. Half of the group still had their hands on their hips and were twisting as they walked. It was really an eyesore. The entire group's image was ruined by them. But then he thought about it. No one would be able to recognize them if they covered their faces, so what? Masked faces were really good. They couldn't lose face even if they wanted to. Boss exclaimed in admiration. He felt even more admiration for the inventor of the mask. Just in case, I'll put another one on. Boss put another mask on top of the mask. He was very pleased. This was definitely a trick that the inventor couldn't have thought of. The dozen of them rushed out of the alley and immediately attracted the surprised gazes of the players on the street. But it was clear that the dozen of them knew that they couldn't lose face even if they wanted to, so they ignored the gazes and continued on their path. Who are these people? A player asked. Black Hand Mercenary Group, someone replied. How do you know? Some of them are wearing a mercenary group badge. I recognize them, this person said. They're not even taking off their badge, and why are they covering their faces? Are they idiots? Probably. The team continued to move forward. Suddenly, a player walked out from the side of the street and grabbed a masked person who was hurrying forward. Coward. Didn't you say you would give me 2 rolls of hemostatic bandages yesterday? Give them to me. I'm not a coward. This person's voice was calm. I know, I called you coward savior. That word is too annoying. It's convenient, the person said. How do you know it's me? Coward savior was surprised. I recognize your equipment. By the way, what are you guys doing? The person asked. Boss, I've been exposed. Coward savior painfully said in the mercenary channel. As a member of the masked clan, you can't even hide your identity. I'm sorry, but you're not a qualified member of our mercenary group, the boss said coldly. A cruel system prompt sounded. Coward's savior was kicked out of the mercenary group. I'll kill you. Coward's savior removed the mask on his face and pounced towards the player who exposed his identity. Ignore him and continue forward. The boss stopped a few hesitant players. Boss, I see him. He's in front. A player who was walking in front reported. Scatter and surround him. We can't let him enter the safe zone. If we miss this opportunity, we won't get another one. The boss ordered. Go, go, go. The crowd dispersed and someone shouted. Chapter 69. Gu Fei exited the alley and walked on the street. Just as he was about to reach the offline safe zone, he suddenly sensed a strange movement beside him. He looked around and saw a silhouette flash past him and rush into the alley in front of him. The silhouette then stuck out half of its head. Its target seemed to beat him. What's going on? Gu Fei turned around and looked again. The 2 nimble heads retreated into the wall cooperatively. Gu Fei turned around and suddenly turned around again. The 2 heads showed off again. Gu Fei was in pain. He couldn't find peace anywhere he went. Where there are people, there will be martial arts. As he thought about it, Gu Fei pulled out his new night streamer. While thinking about it, Gu Fei had already pulled out his new night streamer. To put it nicely, it meant that the sword was elegant and focused on technique. In reality, it also meant that the sword's practicality and lethality were inferior to the saber in actual combat. The saber was mainly used for slashing while the sword was mainly used for stabbing. It went without saying which was easier to deal damage and more powerful. Although the sword also had the ability to slash, in reality, only one side of the blade was used for slashing. On the other hand, the sword had to be double-edged, which not only increased the difficulty of making it, but also decreased the sword's resistance. Therefore, on the battlefield, the position of the sword was eventually replaced by the saber. In the end, it was more of a symbol of status. The saying that scholars carried swords and warriors carried sabers came about from this. Of course, Gu Fei's goal in learning martial arts was not to go on the battlefield. As a researcher, he had dabbled in many kinds of martial arts. The sword was the most common thing, so of course, he had learned it since he was young. There was a saying in martial arts, it's easy to change forms, but difficult to change the force. People who studied hard and fierce martial arts would often be confused when they were suddenly taught Taiji fist. It was the same for the transition between the saber and the sword. Gu Fei was regarded as a talented person by his family because of his talent in this area. He could master all kinds of fist techniques and moves since he was young. Therefore, his family had raised him as an encyclopedia of martial arts. All kinds of martial arts passed down in the family were taught to him. Among them, there were some that weren't his forte. But if there was one that Gu Fei didn't know how to do, then he didn't know how to do it after he turned 22. As for the Gu clan sword techniques, they had some history in the world of Kung Fu. According to the elders in the family, it had been passed down years ago and had been researched and changed by several experts. The original sword manual was still kept at home, and it was said that it was a bamboo version. It was a pity that Gu Fei did not have the chance to see it. When he was learning this sword technique, his father gave him a CD and said that he should use the methods of the 21st century. As for the legendary bamboo slip version, his father said that he would have to wait until Gu Fei was in charge of the family before he had the right to see it. When Gu Fei was young and frivolous, this mysterious bamboo slip version was his dream for many years. But now that he was old, his curiosity was no longer as strong as when he was young, so it didn't matter to him. From a practical point of view, the learning effect of the bamboo slips version was definitely not as outstanding as the CD-ROM version. Otherwise, why would humans say that they were improving? The sword was already in his hand. Although the enemies who came at him didn't show up, Gu Fei still pointed the tip of the sword to the ground and made a sword salute. Then he shouted, "Come out, I've already seen you." Immediately, two masked men flashed out from behind the wall, but before they could say anything, they saw two even faster hands coming out from behind them, and with lightning speed, they were pulled back. At the same time, they reprimanded in a voice so loud that even Gu Fei could hear them, "Stupid! They were just bluffing, and you were so easily tricked." Gu Fei didn't know whether to laugh or cry. At the same time, he felt that these people were much cuter than the non-smilers. He looked around and saw that everyone was calm. No one appeared again. The players who had been walking on the streets suddenly disappeared. Those who wanted to go this way took a detour after looking from a distance. This was more professional than Cloud City. Cloud City was still at the kindergarten level, where a group of curious players would immediately surround a fight. And the players of Moonlit Night City had obviously begun to pay attention to self-protection. The street was quiet, and the wind blew the dead leaves to fall at Gu Fei's feet. This scene was like a movie, but the lines were very boring. Gu Fei said again helplessly, "I really saw you. If you don't come out, I'm leaving. I'm really leaving." Knowing where the other party was hiding, of course, he knew which road was empty. Gu Fei turned and went to an alley on the side where there was no ambush. The group was dumbfounded. He was a few steps away from entering the arranged encirclement. Why didn't he leave? Too shameless. Everyone thought in grief and indignation. As the boss, he had to be good at adjusting his state in such an awkward moment and welcome new challenges. The boss of the Black Hand mercenary group stood out without hesitation and shouted, "Wait." Gu Fei turned back, and all the guys hiding in the corners, roofs, and doors came out. The situation was a bit awkward. They originally wanted to surround Gu Fei, but now it was a standoff. Gu Fei was on one side, and everyone else was on the other. "Who are you?" Gu Fei asked as he retreated. "Black Hand mercenary group." As soon as this person finished speaking, he was slapped by the person next to him. At the same time, the boss turned around and glared at him. It was just that it wasn't good to kick someone in the middle of a fight, so he resisted the urge to kick him out of the mercenary group. "What do you want?" Gu Fei asked. This time, no one dared to say anything. Even the boss didn't say anything. He just waved his hand, and everyone rushed towards Gu Fei. However, the game was divided into classes, and those who rushed up were all melee classes. Gu Fei glanced over and saw that they were all warriors. This was a class that Gu Fei was currently afraid of. Warriors' attacks were heavy, and they didn't dare to block it with their weapons. Warriors were wearing heavy armor, which made Gu Fei's attacks very small. Other than warriors, there were also rogues. They snuck up behind the warriors and slowly approached, thinking that Gu Fei didn't know. Of course, Gu Fei knew what was going on. It was just that he couldn't pinpoint exactly where they were. There were a few people. Because the situation was too chaotic, the mages and archers at the farthest end had already started attacking. Good coordination. Gu Fei, who had accumulated a bit of experience in the game, could tell at a glance. The archers' arrows were the fastest. Some were sniping, some were shooting. If it was an hour ago, the archers' sniping would definitely be a big challenge for Gu Fei. But now, he had the night streamer in his hand. He had just leveled up and added dexterity, so his speed went up a notch. Gu Fei dodged to the side, and then the mage threw a fireball. This thing had an automatic homing effect, so it couldn't be dodged just by twisting his body. Gu Fei madly ran a few steps before the fireball lost its direction. This won't do. Gu Fei's heart tightened. The current situation was different from when he was in Cloud City. The opponent's warriors were at the front, acting as a meat shield. If he couldn't break through their blockade and kill the mage and archer in the back, then he wouldn't have a chance in close combat. Not to mention, there were rogues lying in ambush waiting for an opportunity. At that moment, Gu Fei thought of the rag hanging on a bamboo pole in the leveling area outside of Moonlit Night City. The players here lived up to their reputation of fighting in groups. Their formation was neat and orderly, and the advantage of numbers was too obvious. I can't fight them head-on, Gu Fei thought and turned back into the alley. He ran again. Someone in the Black Hand mercenary group shouted. When they saw Gu Fei enter the alley, they thought he was going to run. Who knew that the boss would call for him to wait and he would retreat? Looking at him now, they thought he was going to fight them to the death, but who knew he would turn around and run again? Why was he so unpredictable? Too shameless, everyone thought. After him, the boss ordered and everyone ran into the alley. Gu Fei ran as fast as he could. He looked back and revealed a victorious smile. Running like this, the opponent's speed was different due to the way they added points. Their formation was still as clear as before, but it was a different method. With the same agility, the one running at the front was the rogues, who were willing to use swift step. If it was just a normal speed, the rogues would be slower than the archers. Behind these two classes were the mages and knights. Knights were slightly faster. In the parallel world, knights were a very balanced class. There was no absolute advantage or disadvantage in any of the attributes. This led to the fact that there was no standard for how knights added points. Those who added agility were a bit faster than the mages. Currently, the normal mages wouldn't put points into agility. After that, it was the warriors who were slower. The classes that were supposed to be the meat shields had fallen to the rear and became the backup. Gu Fei looked back as he ran. Sure enough, the rogues with swift step were amazing. They were closing in step by step. The other side cheered. They didn't think that Gu Fei would turn around to face the enemy. They only thought that he was running away. Estimating the pace of the rogues behind him, Gu Fei counted in his mind. 1, 2, 3, turn around. He suddenly stopped, turned around and slashed horizontally. This was one of the sword techniques passed down in Gu Fei's family. It was called floating cloud slash. Slashing wasn't the forte of the sword, but this technique was able to bring out the specialty of the sword. What specialty? Both sides had the characteristics of a blade. It was said that when this technique was used, it had to be like a floating cloud, making it hard to predict which side it would be used. When Gu Fei was young, he didn't understand it and thought it was quite magical. Now that he had some attainments in martial arts, he felt that this technique was a bit superfluous. He should just slash when he needed to. There was no need to use this technique to make it hard to predict which side it would be used. If there was a difference between the two edges of the sword, then this technique would have some meaning. But in reality, if the two edges of the sword were different, then it would be considered inferior. Gu Fei guessed that the person who created this technique must have been bullied by a blade, so he worked hard to make the sword do something that a blade couldn't. In any case, Gu Fei's sword was now like a floating cloud. The two rogues who were in the middle of swift step couldn't stop in time and were cut solidly. The two screamed and retreated. Gu Fei took a step forward and stabbed again. But halfway through, the sword suddenly stopped and stabbed at a less vital spot. He still had a lot of PK points on him. If he kept killing like this, when would it end? Gu Fei suddenly remembered. Chapter 70. Gu Fei had a total of 15 PK points. Up until now, he had washed away 5 points, leaving him with 10 points. There were over a dozen enemies in front of him. If he killed them all, his PK points would reach a new peak. His legend of 27,149 would be broken by 27149. This was too arrogant. Gu Fei. What made it even more unreasonable was that Gu Fei still didn't know why these people were looking for him. Just now, he didn't say anything before attacking. The online world really was too illusory. There was no need for excuses. Worried that his PK points would increase again, Gu Fei let go of the crippled thief in front of him. Darkstreak's attack was extremely high. For the current players, it wasn't something they could handle. This was especially true for thieves with low health. The one on the right had taken 2 hits. If he took another hit, he would undoubtedly die. Seeing that Gu Fei wasn't going to attack him, he immediately retreated with an ashen face. What's wrong? His companions that arrived later still didn't understand the situation. I almost died. This person said. How? Everyone was shocked. Seeing how fast Gu Fei was running, they all thought that he had added his points into agility. Seeing the sword in his hand, those with experience deduced that this person was a knight. Those that had deduced that he was a mage were rolled their eyes. But even if he was a knight, since he had added his points into agility, his damage shouldn't be so terrifying. Thinking about it like this, the problem could only be with that sword. I was scared to death. If he had used Blessing of Power, I would already be dead. The thief who only had a bit of health left felt fear in his heart. At this moment, the other thief retreated with an ashen face. Hurry, use heal. The thief roared. Unfortunately, the cleric hadn't arrived yet. Clerics were also a slow-moving class. How much health did you take out? Someone asked. What the fuck, it's all health. The thief angrily replied. Everyone looked at each other. With Gu Fei right in front of them, no one dared to go forward. Just as they were stunned, another scream came from the front. It turned out that one of the thieves had tried to sneak up on Gu Fei after entering stealth, but was quickly and cleanly cut down by Gu Fei. He was also merciful and returned with the last bit of his HP, archers. Someone seemed to have woken up from a dream and began to shout. The archers, who were slower than the swift thieves, had already arrived. However, Gu Fei had already decided not to get entangled with these guys. After knocking over a few guys who were closing in on him, he turned around and ran. Go, go, go. The thieves once again shouted the command to charge. The archer began to shoot as he ran, and the arrows fell like rain. However, snipe was currently the strongest skill of the archer class, so they couldn't use it while they were moving. They could only use normal attacks. At worst, they could launch the lowest level powerful arrow. This was just a skill with higher damage than normal attacks, so it didn't pose much of a threat to Gu Fei. Braving the hail of bullets, Gu Fei turned into another alley at the entrance of the alley ahead. Don't let him get away. The guy who rushed at the front was the one who added the most agility. He shouted for his companions to cheer him on. He was the first to appear at the intersection. With a very elegant posture, he leaped sideways and flew out like a fish. He pulled his bow diagonally and was about to shoot an arrow. The purpose of this posture was obviously not to hit Gu Fei, but to look cool. But with such a difficult maneuver, even an Olympic champion probably wouldn't know where to shoot the arrow. In the game, there was a certain system to help correct the craft of archery. After all, it would take a certain amount of time for the players to learn how to shoot, let alone shoot accurately. However, even with the system's help, it was not meant to serve the players endlessly. As soon as this guy performed such a difficult move, even the god system immediately abandoned him. Flying in the air, he drew his bow, but he could not find the target. Since the purpose was to look cool, he did not care about anything else. With a whoosh, he released the arrow. Then there was a slash in the wind. Gu Fei wielded his sword with both hands and slashed down with great force. The poor archer was only halfway through his act of looking cool. After leaping into the air, he had to do a forward roll to land perfectly. In the end, he was hit by Gu Fei's sword in the air and landed vertically with a lazy donkey roll. Too shameless. This person did not even let the other person finish his move. Who is here? Gu Fei thought, you almost shot me. Stop, be careful of an ambush. A few archers came up from behind. The one in front stretched out his arms to stop the ones behind him. The one who was still rolling in the front was furious when he heard this. He was only lying down. He was not dead yet. These guys were actually going to give up on him. It was hateful that his act of looking cool had turned into a water test. Fuck, come and save me, he shouted. The people behind him were quick-witted. It was fine if they did not show their heads. The lazy donkey's rolling legs were still in the alley. A guy very nimbly dashed forward, grabbed the lazy donkey's rolling legs, and pulled him back with a whoosh. That was close. This person praised himself. He thought that if he hadn't acted in time, the lazy donkey rolling would have been beheaded. But this way, they lost the possibility of determining Gu Fei's movements. They stared at each other for a few seconds and said in unison, "Is he still there?" No one dared to look. If the opponent was sticking close to the wall, wouldn't he be in close combat if he went out? Would a close combat archer still have a way out? Knocking an arrow, drawing the bow, and shooting required time. In gaming terms, an archer's normal attack required time to cast a skill, and it was very easy to be interrupted. "Retreat, retreat," someone said in a low voice. They retreated to the other side of the wall. This way, at least they wouldn't be too close to Gu Fei. "I'll shout 1, 2, 3, and we'll rush out together. This way he won't know which one to hit," the person said. "Good idea. 2, 3. Go, go, go." The person shouted, trying to use his voice to injure Gu Fei. "Fuck, where is he?" In the long and narrow alley, Gu Fei's figure was already nowhere to be seen. There was a bit of distance between the two intersections. Gu Fei obviously didn't have enough time to turn at the next intersection. The archers stared at each other. Soon after, the other bandits also arrived. Even after careful investigation, they still couldn't find Gu Fei's whereabouts. He forcefully logged off? Someone guessed. Forcefully logging off was allowed in the game, but it was too risky, so no one dared to try it. The game had already made it clear, forcefully logging off would definitely rewind, but to what extent, no one knew. After that, the mage and the clumsy warrior were also seen. Everyone looked at the empty alley and didn't know what to do. "Attention all areas, attention all areas." The mercenary group leader said in the chat, "The target has mysteriously disappeared. Report immediately if you find him." The group walked along the alley and studied. Suddenly, someone shouted, "Aya, he's on the roof, right?" Everyone understood and looked up. The house wasn't tall, and the alley was narrow. The walls were close to each other, so it was easy to climb up with arms and legs spread apart. The guy who discovered this used his own body as an example. He climbed up the roof in 2 or 3 steps, looked around and said, "No, he might have already run far away. Don't worry, as long as he's still in Moonlit Night City, we'll definitely take him down," the leader said confidently. At this moment, the thieves who had been hit a few times began to describe how terrifying Gu Fei's sword was. He lost half his HP after 1 slash. That guy even added all his points into agility. Fuck, if he was a warrior, he would have been killed instantly with a normal attack. The player said. The leader was a warrior. When he heard that the sword was so sharp, he became even more spirited. He continuously spammed the mercenary channel and ordered all the mercenaries to move out. They had to find this guy in a black mage robe. 7 minutes later, the leader received a report that someone had seen this guy enter the offline safe zone and log off. "Which offline zone?" the leader asked. "The Knights camp in Area A," someone replied. "Take turns, we can't let this guy go." The leader said. If it was just a normal target, he probably would have given up and wouldn't have wasted any more time. But now that he knew that Gu Fei had such a sharp sword, the leader naturally wouldn't let it go. "First, one person will go watch him. Everyone else, come to the 6th Night Tavern. I'll pay for all the drinks," the leader said boldly. The Black Hand mercenary group gathered at the 6th Night Tavern and waited for Gu Fei to log on. After logging off, Gu Fei prepared to take a nap. But from how Gu Fei chased after him until he logged off, it could be seen that Gu Fei was a person who couldn't keep things in his heart. At this time, he had PK points, so it was inconvenient for him to do anything. It was like a fishbone stuck in his throat and he had to get it out. After leaving the game, this feeling became stronger and stronger. Gu Fei knew that he had this problem. From a medical point of view, it was a bit of OCD. He immediately ignored it and forced himself to sleep. When Gu Fei returned to the game, the biggest change in the game was that there were a bunch of drunkards in the 6th Night Tavern. "I bet this guy won't show up for another hour," a drunkard said drunkenly. "Yeah. This brat, he made us wait for a day and a night. We can't let him go." This person was calculating the time in the game. As for the eyes they left in the offline area, they had also brought alcohol with them. At this time, he had already drunk too much and was squatting in the corner, dozing off. He didn't even notice Gu Fei swaggering in front of him. Staying in the offline safe area was also considered time to wash off his PK points. At this time, Gu Fei wasn't in a hurry to go out. He still had some questions to ask. Before entering the game, Gu Fei went to the official website to look up terms such as spell proficiency, sword coefficient, and spellcasting. In the end, he didn't find anything. He had no choice but to trouble Hongchen Yixiao again. Chapter 71. You there? Gu Fei asked Hongchen Yixiao. What answered him was a series of ellipses. Gu Fei answered with a question mark. You don't come to the temple for no reason. What do you want? Hongchen Yixiao asked. Sword coefficient, magic proficiency, these attributes appeared on my equipment. What do they mean? Gu Fei asked. This. Hongchen Yixiao hesitated. You can't tell me? Gu Fei said. It's not that I can't tell you, but I didn't think I'd have to talk about this so early. Hongchen Yixiao said. Then tell me. Gu Fei said. You should know, in the parallel world, there are no class restrictions for weapons, anyone can use them. Hongchen Yixiao said. Yes. Gu Fei replied. Actually, that's not the case. Hongchen Yixiao said, low-end weapons don't have much of a difference in attributes. That's why we chose to ignore this factor. But for high-end equipment, different types of weapons will have a coefficient that determines whether or not you can use the weapon to its full potential. This is what you see now, the sword coefficient and magic proficiency. How is it determined? Gu Fei asked. The way you add points to your character determines the various coefficients of your character. And different classes will naturally have the coefficient of certain weapons. For example, a mage will have the coefficient of magic, a thief will have the coefficient of a dagger, an archer will have the coefficient of a bow and crossbow, and a warrior will have the coefficient of all weapons except magic. Of course, there are higher and lower ones. In short, for high-end weapons, if your character lacks the required coefficient of the weapon, then you won't be able to use the weapon to its full potential. Hongchen Yixiao said a lot, then asked, Do you understand? I see. Gu Fei suddenly understood. When he had attacked with the Night Streamer, Gu Fei had noticed that his damage hadn't reached the sword's maximum value. Because he had been relying on his kung fu to achieve this, he had thought that he hadn't grasped the timing of his attacks properly. Only now did he realize that it was the equipment itself that was causing trouble. From the looks of it, the sword coefficient and magic element weren't about increasing one's attributes, but rather equipment requirements. Hongchen Yixiao continued, as for the relationship between the number of people and the number of people, it's related to professions. It's very complicated and I can't explain it clearly in one go. In short, he just had to refer to the general method of adding points that was in line with the characteristics of the class. As for those who add points differently, we can only look for alternative solutions. Wait, based on this calculation, if a weapon had a high coefficient, even if it was a suitable class, wouldn't it require a very high level to equip it? Because if you don't add enough points, your own coefficient won't meet the requirements. Gu Fei said, It's not that you can't equip it, it's just that you can't use its full power. Hongchen Yixiao said, Isn't that the same? Isn't this the same as adding a level requirement to the equipment? Gu Fei said, You can't say it like that. It should be said that the coefficient determines how much of the equipment's power you can use. Even if you don't reach it, a difference of 10 and 20 is still different. For example, if a sword's sword coefficient is 200% and your character's sword coefficient is only 180%, there's a 20% difference. In your hands, the sword's attributes will be multiplied by 80%. In other words, if your sword's sword coefficient reaches 199%, even if it doesn't meet the requirements of the sword, it won't make much of a difference in your hands. Then how do you calculate your character's coefficient? Gu Fei asked. We're not going to announce this. We're waiting for the players to do their own research. Hongchen Yixiao said, Are you doing well in Moonlit Night City? After talking about business, Hongchen Yixiao began to chat with Gu Fei. What's so good about it? The atmosphere in Moonlit Night City is too bad. Just walking on the street and you're slashing people. Is there any law? Are you guys going to do anything about it? Gu Fei protested. If I'm going to do something about it, I'm going to do something about it first. You're the most wanted criminal in the entire game and you're still so free. Is there any law? Is there anyone who's going to do anything about it? Hongchen Yixiao retorted. Gu Fei was speechless for a moment. After a while, he said, "But you can't just slash people for no reason. You're a wanted criminal. Everyone has the right to kill you." Hongchen Yixiao said, "If someone slashes me, then I don't even have the right to defend myself?" Gu Fei had already noticed this problem. "Originally you did, but now you don't?" Hongchen Yixiao said. "Why?" "Because you're a wanted criminal. Everyone has the right to kill you." Hongchen Yixiao said. "Take care of yourself." "I protest. I'm also a player. I can't be discriminated against just because I have PK points." Gu Fei loudly protested. "Then what? Should we reward you for killing more than a dozen people in a single day?" Hongchen countered with a smile. "At least, give me a chance to make up for it." Gu Fei said. "There is. Isn't the prison door always open for you?" Hongchen Yixiao said. "What else can I do besides go to prison?" "Then you can only redeem yourself by doing something good. You can accept a quest to kill people with PK points like you. The reward for normal people is money and experience. You'll get a reward that will erase your PK points. However much PK points you kill, you'll be erased." Hongchen Yixiao said. Gu Fei laughed. "Killing to stop killing, wrong. It's killing each other." "I'm encouraging you bad people to kill each other," Hongchen Yixiao said. "There's still something you haven't explained. That spell mastery." Gu Fei asked. "I'll tell you next time. I have something to do, so I'm going offline." Hongchen Yixiao went offline. After ending the conversation with Hongchen Yixiao, Gu Fei looked around and saw a guy curled up in a corner. He looked pitiful like a little boy selling matches. He immediately took 2 steps forward and said, "Brother, can I ask how to get to the place where the quest is issued?" The person raised his head. His eyes were sleepy and his mouth reeked of alcohol. He mumbled, "On 4th Night Street." "Thanks." Then he patted the person's shoulder. "Brother, if you want to sleep, go offline. Don't stay here. It's uncomfortable." "It's okay. I'm waiting for someone." The person said, "A man wearing a black mage robe. He's a bit handsome, but his behavior is a bit wretched. Have you seen such a person?" "I'm sorry. The person you're talking about, except for the last one, looks like me," Gu Fei said. The half-asleep guy tried his best to open his eyes. Only then did he see the guy in front of him talking to him. He immediately sobered up. Just as he was about to say something, Gu Fei raised his hand and drew his sword. Gu Fei took advantage of the situation and pushed the tip of the sword against his chest. After all, it was a game. If he didn't take some lives first, the sword wouldn't be a threat. "Black Hand Mercenary Group?" Gu Fei asked. The person was stunned. "Why are you looking for me?" Gu Fei asked. "Rob?" The person said. "Bruh?" Gu Fei didn't understand. The person didn't say anything. Gu Fei saw that the person was staring blankly. He was probably calling for help in the chat. Gu Fei immediately put away his sword and left. Although the person was an enemy, the information he provided should be correct. On the 4th Night Street, Gu Fei exited the offline area and asked a random player for the exact direction. However, it was inevitable that he would encounter people from the Black Hand Mercenary Group. Gu Fei found a corner and took off his moonlit night robe and changed into a new mage robe. It was obvious that the other party was using this black robe as his main symbol. Gu Fei estimated that as long as he took off this black robe, the other party's impression of his appearance would become hazy. Then he swaggered onto the street. The beginner mage robe was a rather sensitive symbol in Cloud City, but it was very common in Moonlit City. Gu Fei noticed that most of the players in Moonlit City were wearing beginner equipment. Gu Fei guessed that they might have better equipment. It was probably because PvP was too popular here and most people didn't want to lose too much if they died. As he walked, he suddenly received a message. He opened it and saw that it was "Brother you, damn, you're already level 31. Is there a special leveling area over there?" "No, I completed a chain quest and the experience reward was huge." Gu Fei said. "Chain quest?" "Brother you muttered, what kind of quest?" "Tell me when we get back." "Yeah, but now that you're level 31, it'll be much easier to hide your identity." Brother, you said, low-level appraisal is unable to appraise high-level skills. This includes character appraisal. There aren't many level 31 players in the game, so you don't have to worry about your equipment being appraised. No one can even know your class through appraisal. Brother, you said, I see. Gu Fei's eyes lit up. That's great. Yeah, if it weren't for the fact that you're number 27,149 in the eyes of so many people, you could swagger over to the wanted office to accept a quest. Brother, you said. Gu Fei laughed. In Cloud City, I'm 27149. Here, I'm not. I'm preparing to go to the wanted office to accept a quest. Where are you? Brother, you asked. Moonlit City. Through the Black Dragon Mountain Range, there's a new main city. Gu Fei said. I see. How's it over there? Brother, you asked. Chaotic, very chaotic. The streets are full of people fighting and even robbing. Fuck, I've been robbed again. Talk to you later. Gu Fei said. Who are you? Gu Fei looked at the guy in front of him. My name is Coward Savior. I want to clear my name. I am not a coward. This person raised his arms and shouted. Another one who drank too much. Gu Fei secretly sighed. Come, Gu Fei said as he pulled out Flame Baptism. This was to prevent the Black Hand mercenary group from recognizing him from the night streamer. Gu Fei didn't know that the guy in front of him was also a member of the Black Hand mercenary group. Coward's Savior Starry Sky took a stance. Gu Fei saw it and was startled. Mantis Fist? Chapter 72. There are no cowards in Kung Fu. To be able to recognize my Mantis Fist, your eyesight is worthy of my praise. Savior of the Coward's eyes lit up when he heard Gu Fei's words. Gu Fei was speechless. The Mantis Fist stance was too vivid. What's more, the guy in front of him had done it so well. Anyone who had seen a few movies involving the Mantis Fist would be able to recognize it at a glance. It was really not worthy of praise. If that's the case, Gu Fei said as he stuffed the baptism of fire back into his pocket and got into a stance. Also a Mantis Fist? Savior of the Coward was stunned, then said, You don't just imitate others. That's too shameless. I'm not imitating. Gu Fei was stunned. Not imitating? Then what are you doing? Savior of the Coward's two broken arms supported his body in front of him. His whole body swayed forward and backward. I'm not imitating you. Gu Fei was about to explain when he heard his opponent shout, Whatever, watch my fist. Then he rushed in front of Gu Fei and punched Gu Fei's face. What nonsense are you doing? Gu Fei raised his hand and slapped his fist away. Good boy, you have some skills. Savior of the Coward's agility was obviously not low. After his fist was blocked, he followed it up with another. Gu Fei paid attention to his feet and suddenly didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He bent his body to dodge the punch and at the same time, swept his leg across the ground and kicked Savior of the Coward to the ground. Do you know the Mantis Fist or not? Gu Fei shouted at him. Why not, hey? Savior of the Coward laid on the ground and even posed like a mantis. Then, with a shout, he flipped over and got into a stance again. Gu Fei took a few steps back and Savior of the Coward immediately followed at full speed. Stop! Gu Fei shouted as he pushed his hand forward. The Coward's Savior stopped in his tracks and asked blankly, What? Gu Fei walked up to him and patted his arm, saying, Your upper body stance is the seven-sided Mantis Fist, but your lower body? Gu Fei used his foot to kick the Coward's Savior's calf and said, You don't even know the 7-star steps? Have you learned the 7-sided Mantis Palm? What step? 7-star steps? What's that? Gu Fei took 2 steps back and pulled out the baptism of fire. Take it. Real Kung Fu relies on your fists. Savior of Cowards clenched his fists. Gu Fei rushed up and kicked the Coward's Savior to the ground, stomping on him. I'll teach you to insult Kung Fu again. How dare you insult Kung Fu again? Don't step on it anymore, or I'll get angry. The Coward's Savior shouted. Gu Fei was a full agility mage, and his attack power came from his weapon. Although he was stomping on the enemy with his feet, the damage was not enough to break through his defense. Although the Coward's Savior looked miserable, his HP did not decrease at all. I've been angry for a long time, Gu Fei shouted. He also knew that his attacks did not do any damage, but this way he did not have to worry about accidentally stepping on the PK points on his back, so he stomped even more boldly. At the same time, he took out the Night Streamer. With the agility of the sword, he could stomp a few more times in a minute. The coward's savior shouted and suddenly reached out to grab Gu Fei's right leg. Gu Fei was startled, and then he felt a strong force rush over him. He was completely unable to resist and was thrown out. Gu Fei, who was in the air, balanced his body and landed steadily, but found that he could not use any strength at all. In this moment of surprise, he was thrown to the ground. His HP dropped by more than half in the blink of an eye. It was just a fall, but it had such high damage. Gu Fei, on the other hand, understood because he was quite familiar with this game class. Grandmaster of Combat, level 30 skill, Hug Throw. The coward's savior used this skill while he was on the ground. He probably could not use it to its full potential, but he still managed to take out more than half of Gu Fei's HP. The attack power of this skill was obviously comparable to an archer's snipe or a thief's backstab. It was a powerful skill that could instantly kill a low-level player with low HP. Ha! The coward's savior stood up and laughed with his hands on his hips. You forced me to use my ultimate skill. Now you know how powerful it is. It had to be said that even the most calm person would lose their rationality, and that was what happened to Gu Fei just now. The coward's savior's nondescript mantis fist that could even pose while lying on the ground had infuriated Gu Fei. At that time, Gu Fei's only wish was to stomp him into a cockroach. He had completely forgotten that this guy could still resist. Gu Fei slowly got up, patted the dust off his body, put his sword back into his pocket, and turned to leave. The coward's savior clenched his fist and was stunned for a long time before he reacted and shouted, "Stop, where do you think you're going?" Gu Fei turned back. "I thought you really knew martial arts, so I stayed here to waste my time with you. Turns out you don't know anything. Alright, go do what you need to do." "Fuck, you're looking down on me. Watch this." The coward's savior shouted and swung a horse-shooting star. Gu Fei dodged to the side, and the coward's savior turned around and threw another uppercut. Gu Fei took another step back, and the coward's savior's other leg was already flying out, but it kicked empty air. Gu Fei stepped forward and grabbed the guy's ankle that was still in midair, and pushed lightly. The coward's savior immediately lost his balance and fell to the ground, but he didn't fall too far. Gu Fei didn't have that much strength. The coward's savior was a little stunned. The uppercut and bouncing kick just now weren't the messy mantis fist that he used before. These were Grandmaster of Combat level 12 and 18 skills, respectively. In gaming terms, an uppercut would knock the opponent into the air, followed by a bouncing kick, and then followed up with a horse-shooting star before the opponent landed. This was a combo unique to Grandmasters of Combat. In the end, Gu Fei seemed to have only lightly moved 2 steps before dodging it. "You know martial arts?" The coward's savior suddenly shouted. Gu Fei nodded. "Take me as your disciple." The coward's savior said. "Are you kidding me?" Gu Fei said. "If you don't take me as your disciple, I won't get up." The coward's savior lay on the ground and didn't get up, rolling around. Times were changing. Gu Fei sighed. In the past, when people begged to be apprenticed, they would kneel and not get up. Now that it was the new era, kneeling wasn't popular anymore, so they changed to rolling around on the ground. The words didn't change, though. It was still, "If you don't take me as your disciple, I won't get up." "Take me as your disciple. Take me as your disciple." The coward's savior shouted as he rolled around. He suddenly looked up and saw that Gu Fei was long gone. The coward's savior stood up with a carp flip and clenched his fists. "I must be apprenticed to learn martial arts, because with martial arts, there are no cowards." At this time, Gu Fei was already 2 streets away. The coward's savior was a rare person who was passionate about martial arts, but this person had a problem with his brain. Gu Fei sighed. Rather than stay there and embarrass himself with him, it was better for him to disappear early. After asking a few more people along the way, Gu Fei finally arrived at Moonlit Night City's 4th Street. The room where the bounty quest was issued was very large, and for a town like Moonlit Night City where PvP was very popular, this place was very lively. Many players gathered here, each with their own thoughts, looking around the list and waiting. At the same time, everyone was praising the number 27149, which was still at the top of the list. Although it had already been reduced by 5 points, there was currently no one in the entire game with a PK value in the double digits. Gu Fei's PK value of 10 was still at the top. Gu Fei was very worried that some incompetent person would accept the quest. Fortunately, such an unfortunate thing did not happen. Looking at the bounty list, he chose to arrange it by area. The player at the top of Moonlit Night City had a PK value of 4, number 29527. Without hesitation, Gu Fei chose to accept the quest. The system immediately informed Gu Fei of the things to take note of when accepting the bounty quest. This quest could only accept one target at a time, and the quest could not be cancelled. When the target's PK value dropped to 0 or was arrested by others, the quest would automatically end. Gu Fei left the bounty quest office. Not long after, the system sent the coordinates of 29,527 to Gu Fei in the form of a message. Gu Fei perked up and ran towards the coordinates. Based on the direction of movement and the changes in coordinates, Gu Fei determined that the coordinates were within the city. 5 minutes passed, and the coordinates were sent again. Gu Fei pulled it out and was shocked. Compared to the last time, this person's coordinates had not changed at all, which meant that this guy stayed in the same place for 5 minutes. How arrogant! Gu Fei, in order to clear his PK value, he had run away. How nice was this guy? He was actually squatting in the same place without moving. Wasn't he afraid of being chased? Gu Fei felt strange and suspected that this was a trap. As he thought about it, he was already getting closer and closer to the coordinates. Looking ahead, he saw a tavern. Still drinking in a tavern? Or is there a trap inside? Gu Fei circled the tavern twice, but he did not enter. Gu Fei watched as many players casually entered and exited the building. He could see the serial number 29527, but the other party didn't know that he had accepted the quest to capture him. Thus, the theory that he had set up a trap shouldn't be valid. With this thought in mind, Gu Fei stepped into the tavern. The tavern opened by the system was a hall with many small tables. Gu Fei immediately saw 29,527 sitting at one of the tables, drinking and laughing with the people around him. The players entering and exiting the tavern only glanced at him. It was unknown if they knew that he was Moonlit City's top wanted criminal, but no one paid him any attention. What's going on? Confused, Gu Fei walked up to the bar and asked the system NPC for a drink. After taking a sip, he looked back and saw that the person was still chatting with the others. He was less than 2 meters away from him. He could reach out his arm and slash at him. Screw it. Gu Fei made up his mind. Although he felt that something was off, in order to clear his PK value, he had to go even if it was a dragon's lair or a tiger's den. Gu Fei shot forward like an arrow and swung his flame baptism with all his might. 29527 was knocked to the ground on the spot. The surrounding players were in an uproar. 29527 fell to the ground with the stool. He did not resist at all. He only looked at Gu Fei in shock. What are you looking at? Were they not mentally prepared to sit here and wait to be caught? Gu Fei felt strange, but his hands did not stop. He stepped forward and slashed twice, shouting, 29527, it's you, right? Chapter 73. 29527 didn't have time to answer. He was just unlucky. The baptism of fire had a 30% chance of fire, and under the scorching heat, the guy disappeared with a puzzled expression. A white light flashed, and there was a bang. This was the signal that the guy had been sent to prison. If a player was killed by a wanted player, the dead player would be directly sent to the system's prison and wouldn't receive a death penalty. Because they were fleeing and being chased, it was like resisting arrest, so the jail time in this situation was different from the jail time of surrendering. Surrendering and going to prison would erase 1 PK point per hour, which was faster than escaping in the wild. After being chased and sent to prison, it would erase 1 PK point every 2 hours, which was the same as escaping in the wild, but losing freedom was very pitiful. 29,527 situation was 4 PK points, and he would have to go to prison for 8 hours. Not receiving a death penalty was the only consolation he had. Gu Fei had already heard the system notification. Wanted quest 29527 completed. Player can go to the quest distribution center to receive the reward. Gu Fei breathed a sigh of relief. The guy's confused expression made Gu Fei's hand tremble when he chopped down the last time. He wondered if he had hit the wrong person. Now that he had the system notification, he could finally relax. Putting away the baptism of fire, Gu Fei clapped his hands and walked to the bar. He had only taken a sip of the wine he had ordered. Gu Fei planned to finish it before receiving the reward. The people at the tables, around 29,527, all looked at Gu Fei in surprise. Gu Fei smiled and nodded at them. He walked to the bar, picked up his wine, and took a sip. Looking back, he saw that everyone was still looking at him. Gu Fei muttered to himself, could it be that his actions just now were too cool? He thought to himself, but still raised his glass to show courtesy. Bang! A table was kicked over by someone. The players at those tables seemed to wake up from a dream. The surprise on their faces had already turned into anger, and their anger was directed at Gu Fei. The players at the other tables clearly had a special sense of smell for PvP like the players of Moonlit Night City. They had already sensed that the atmosphere wasn't right, so they stood up and prepared to leave the tavern. Hi, Master Kong, it's you. You're here too. Gu Fei's eyes were sharp. He saw a person and immediately went forward to greet him. Master Kang's face turned pale. He quickly said, "Who are you? I don't know you." "Am I not that person?" Gu Fei said as he walked quickly toward Kong Shifu. In the blink of an eye, he was beside Kong Shifu. He put his arm around Kong Shifu's shoulder and said, "Why are you still standing there?" "Big brother, you've killed me." Kong Shifu cried as he ran out, but Gu Fei was faster than him and beat him to the door. "Fuck, that guy ran away." The group of people in the tavern who were glaring at each other once again seemed to have woken up from a dream as they shouted and rushed out of the tavern. Gu Fei had already run a few meters away, followed by Master Kong. A group of people rushed out of the tavern and saw them. They shouted, "Over there, two of them. Don't let a single one of them escape." Kong Shifu cried again when he heard this. He shouted at Gu Fei, "Why are you paying attention to me? Pretend you didn't see me." Gu Fei said apologetically, "I'm sorry, I was trying to divert their attention." "Who are they?" Gu Fei asked as he turned around. Those people didn't seem to be fast enough to catch up to Gu Fei and Kong Shifu. "They are from the Bygone Dust Guild, the biggest guild in Moonlit Night City. The person you killed is called Silver Moon, the leader of their guild." Master Kong explained bitterly, but he still couldn't forget to complain. "Why did you kill him when he was just fine?" "I'm doing a bounty quest." Gu Fei said. "There are so many people on the bounty quest, why did you pick him?" "His PK value is 4 at most." Gu Fei said. "You can't be blamed." Kong Shifu sighed as he ran. "You can't see the name of this quest. You're not from here, so you don't know Silver Moon. Why do you think he dared to sit there and drink with so many PK points? Isn't it because even if someone else took this quest and saw him, they would have to go back the same way they came? How much experience and money does a bounty quest cost? If he offended the Bygone Dust Guild, would he still be able to live in Moonlit Night City?" "I see." Gu Fei understood. No wonder that guy was so confused when he died. It wasn't that Gu Fei didn't suspect this, but he was brave enough to challenge the impossible. "Let's take 10,000 steps back. You killed him and then you ran. You even drank and you even greeted me. If I die because of you, how am I supposed to live?" Kong Shifu cried again. "It's okay. Come with me to Cloud City in 2 days. They won't chase after you, will they?" Gu Fei said. "Who knows?" Kong Shifu said. "Fuck, is there a need for that?" Gu Fei was shocked. "We can't understand the feelings of these PK maniacs. They're always worried about not having an excuse to PK. Now that they're being chased by Qianli, maybe they'll think it's cool." Kong Shifu said. "Kumayas, we've already lost them." Gu Fei looked back, but the group of people had already disappeared. Kong Shifu was a thief, and Gu Fei was an agility mage. Neither of them were slow. The group of people clearly didn't have such extreme agility, so they couldn't catch up to them. "What do we do now?" Maybe we've already been surrounded. Kong Shifu said. I'll teach you. If you change your clothes and cover your face like this, they won't be able to recognize you. Gu Fei said as he covered his face and put on the Lunar Night Spirit robe again. Cover my face? Isn't that too obvious? Kong Shifu said. No, there are many players in Moonlit Night City who are covering their faces today. Gu Fei said. He didn't say that those masked players were also going to kill him. Gu Fei was puzzled. He was such a low-key person, so why did he attract so many people to kill him? It was rare for him to get rid of a PK maniac, but he ended up getting into trouble. Of course, compared to him, that person's PK points were nothing. Kong Shifu did the same, then looked around and said, Okay, let's leave Moonlit Night City and go back to Cloud City. But Gu Fei flatly refused. Gu Fei could only be honest. I'm also carrying PK points. If I go back to Cloud City, I'll be annoyed to death. I came to Moonlit Night City to seek refuge. Kong Shifu's expression couldn't be seen with his face covered. He took a few steps back and said, So you're also a PK maniac. Don't tell me you're the Killer King of Cloud City. Of course not. I only have a little bit of PK points. Gu Fei lied against his will. He felt that Kong Shifu seemed to be a little too sensitive towards PK. He probably suffered quite a bit because of this, and now he was like a frightened bird. Since it's like this, I'll go to Cloud City first. I just need to go through Black Dragon Mountain Range, right? Kong Shifu said. Let's go. Gu Fei nodded. Be careful. If there's a chance, we'll meet again in Cloud City. Kong Shifu's tone was as if he couldn't see Gu Fei anymore. After saying this, he turned around and disappeared into the street. He's still sneaking around. Then why did he need to hide his face and change clothes? He should just sneak out. This person is too careful. Gu Fei said as he turned around and left. His destination was 4th Night Street, the wanted mission office. He had just caught a murderer and hadn't received his reward yet. Gu Fei walked briskly towards the quest office. Along the way, the players he met all cast confused glances at him. Black Hand Mercenary Group. Gu Fei explained to these confused players. But everyone was still confused. Along the way, Gu Fei had spread a lot of rumors about this. He was even a bit worried for his fellows in the Black Hand Mercenary Group. He believed that if a masked man did something big in Moonlit Night City, the Black Hand Mercenary Group would be the first suspect. The mission office was just up ahead. As soon as Gu Fei turned around and showed his head, he immediately shrunk back. He saw a few familiar faces. They seemed to be the ones he had seen in the tavern before. A few of them were crouching in front of the mission office, playing with their weapons. It seemed like they already knew that Gu Fei had received a wanted mission to kill their guild leader. They also knew that he would have to come back after completing the mission and receiving his reward, so they were waiting here. What Gu Fei didn't understand was why they didn't hide in their houses, but stood outside with such obvious intentions. Could it be that the average IQ of Moonlit Night City's players was low? When their IQ was low, it was inevitable that they would use force to solve problems. For example, most animals were like this. This was somewhat similar to the atmosphere in Moonlit Night City. If they had this kind of IQ, Gu Fei felt that he wouldn't raise any suspicions even if he swaggered in with this outfit. Thinking about this, Gu Fei walked out of the alley and headed towards the mission office. His masked appearance immediately attracted a lot of attention. Black Hand Mercenary Group. Gu Fei said to the person who was looking at him. Black Hand Mercenary Group. When he reached the mission office, Gu Fei specifically said to the former Dust Guild member who was playing with a sword. Scram. The person impatiently said to Gu Fei. This was the first time in his life that he felt so happy after being scolded. Gu Fei happily entered the mission office and received his reward. The system notified him that his PK points had been washed away by 4 points. Then he received a new mission, but unfortunately, there was no more Big Head Garlic like 29527. The remaining wanted players were all people with a PK value of 1. The surrounding players who were doing the bounty quest were all lamenting. For a town where PK was so prevalent, the PK value was so conservative. Everyone felt that it was too shameful. Gu Fei randomly chose one and walked behind everyone else. When no one was paying attention, he changed into a new mage robe and walked out of the mission office. He then said to the person playing with a sword, "I'm from Black Hand Mercenary Group." The person jumped up with a sword in his hand. "Are you guys done? I was the one who killed your boss." Gu Fei said word by word. He suddenly turned around and ran. "Fuck, don't let that guy get away," the person shouted. Chapter 74. Gu Fei was wrong. He was really wrong. When he saw that guy roar and countless players erupt like volcanoes from all directions, Gu Fei knew how ignorant he was to mock his opponent's intelligence. The other side had a few hotheads standing outside the door, which made Gu Fei lower his guard. If he hadn't seen such a stupid arrangement, Gu Fei might have been careful. It didn't matter if he didn't dare to enter the house. He could always find a friend to see if there were people from the Bygone Dust Guild inside. The other side was worried that this would happen, so they simply put a few idiotic guys at the door and arranged the real ambush in the dark. Seeing this kind of brazen waiting, most people would lower their guard. They would subconsciously think that everything was under control and they only needed to think of a solution. This was the case for Gu Fei. This was the first point where his judgment was wrong. And the second point was that Gu Fei, who had already changed his clothes and covered his face, shouldn't have said too much. Perhaps the other side would be suspicious of the masked Gu Fei, but before they confirmed Gu Fei's identity, they wouldn't expose the ambush. After all, they couldn't let the real guy who might be watching from the side see through them. So, at most, one or two of them would tentatively contact Gu Fei, but this was enough to alert Gu Fei. This was the flaw in their arrangement. In the end, before they could test him, Gu Fei had already announced his identity. Was there any hesitation? The other side immediately spread out their big net, and the fish, Gu Fei, had completely taken the bait. The other side was playing a psychological battle with Gu Fei, but Gu Fei looked down on the other side and was too playful. In the end, he could only suffer. Gu Fei was surrounded, and the situation wasn't looking good. However, not giving up until the very last moment was also Gu Fei's style. It seemed that because time was tight, or because they felt that he was alone, there weren't too many people on the other side. Compared to being chased by nearly 10,000 people in the clouds, this scene was still acceptable to Gu Fei. Gu Fei seized the opportunity to make the first move in order to prevent the enemy from getting any more reinforcements. He reached into his pocket and took out the night streamer. Due to the sword's coefficient, Gu Fei could not unleash the full offensive power of the Dark Moonstream sword. How much damage he could deal still needed to be calculated precisely. Gu Fei recalled his own hand feeling and estimated that it was about half. Compared to Baptism of Fire and Enchantment, the damage of this skill was slightly lower. However, at this time, facing such a worrying situation, Gu Fei needed the Dark Moonstream sword's steady damage, even if its damage was on the low side. The 30% chance that came and went from time to time was really deadly at this time. And without the Baptism of Fire's enchantment, its offensive power was not even half of the Dark Moonstream sword's. Gu Fei leaped down the flight of stairs in front of the main door of the mission distribution hall and swung his sword. One of the Gu family's ultimate skills, Fickle. From Gu Fei's point of view, he really didn't like the name of this skill. Although it was beautiful to use an idiom to name a skill, this skill gave people a sense of beauty. But in reality, this skill was a very ancient sword skill. Fickle also had to be explained in the most primitive way. It basically meant that one could see through the appearance to see the essence. From this, it could be understood that this skill was a big trick. In an instant, he drew out several swords and attacked many targets. There had to be both feints and reality. If he stabbed at the feints, he had to immediately pull back to create an illusion. If he stabbed at the real ones, he would have to stab them all. If he stabbed at the real ones, he would have to use all his strength. With such a long distance, it was very unrealistic to try and stab so many enemies in an instant. As a result, the more feints there were, the more targets he could stab at. With Gu Fei's skill in the real world, he could stab out 12 times in a set amount of time if he only used one attack and the rest were feints. At this time, due to the game's limit, Gu Fei estimated that he could stab out 6 times at most. However, if he changed his strategy slightly and didn't use a single real attack, he could stab out 2 more times. This was Gu Fei's idea. In an instant he stabbed out 8 times towards 8 targets. Sword light flashed. This trick could even deceive people who really knew Kung Fu, so it would be easy for it to harm ordinary people. For a moment, the 8 players that had been targeted by Gu Fei all thought that the sword was about to stab into them. They hurriedly waved their weapons to block. Everyone had heard that this person was someone who had insta-killed their boss in 3 moves. He definitely couldn't be underestimated. Of course, they didn't know that their boss had stepped on 30% health 3 times in a row. Gu Fei looked at everyone's reactions and was very satisfied. As expected of a town where PvP was popular, the quality of the players was high. They knew how to block with their weapons. If this had happened in Cloud Peak City, half of the rookies would have stupidly stuck out their chest to take this blow, and then continued to smash Gu Fei with their weapons. One sword forced back 8. The effect was gratifying. Gu Fei took advantage of the opportunity to step into a gap in the crowd and raised his hand again. This time, Gu Fei attacked 6 targets. If he only relied on trickery, it would be hard to avoid being seen through. Gu Fei didn't dare to look down on his opponent's intelligence anymore. This time, he hid 1 out of the 6 swords. As for the target, it was obviously Gu Fei's favorite thief. In reality, mages had lower health than thieves. However, the ones who rushed up to get close wouldn't be mages. In terms of proximity, the thief was the weakest target. 5 feints flashed out and the target was the 6th thief. The thief nimbly swung his dagger to block. Gu Fei smiled indifferently and casually made a change. The tip of the sword trembled past the dagger and hit the opponent's head. The thief cried out. After all, being poked in the head with something was a very scary thing. Gu Fei turned his sword and used this move for the 3rd time. Previously, it was counterclockwise. This time, it was a different direction. The first sword was a real one, and the target was the poor thief. Under the maximum attack of 2 dark stream swords, the thief died on the spot. Gu Fei's PK value naturally increased by 1, but this was also within his calculations. Imagine if he only put on a show and didn't hurt or kill anyone. After a few times, how could he still be intimidating? When these players discovered that Gu Fei's swords didn't have any power, they would naturally be brave enough to charge forward. When the time came, unless he turned into Superman or Spider-Man, there was no way to stop him. Since he had already intimidated them with brute force, he couldn't relax his mental attacks either. Taking advantage of the moment a circle of people were forced back, Gu Fei swept the tip of his sword in a circle. The wind created by the tip of the sword swept up the dust on the ground and sent it flying 360 degrees. This is my sword circle. Those who enter, die. At this crucial moment, he had no choice but to show off. Gu Fei thought. As expected, the enemies were slightly shaken. They stared at Gu Fei's sword and didn't dare to move. Everyone had seen how he killed the thief in 2 strikes. Even if the thief had low HP, he hadn't used any skills. More importantly, what was this guy's class? The surrounding people frantically used identify, but they couldn't even identify a fart. At this moment, Gu Fei was feeling bitter. The other side didn't move forward for the time being because he had suppressed them. Now, with him as the center, they had formed a circle. The area of this circle was quite large, so it wasn't very likely for him to fight his way out. If the other side didn't react in time and the archers and magicians found a high point to launch an aerial attack on him, he would be completely finished. How could he get out of the circle? Gu Fei sized up the various players around him. Although no one stepped forward to challenge him, the other side didn't panic. With so many people around, what was there to panic about? It was impossible for Gu Fei to kill everyone. This was a fact that everyone knew. But no one wanted to attack rashly. In the chaotic battle, Gu Fei disregarded everything and risked his life to fight to the death. With his attacks, it was very possible that he could take 2 enemies down with him. No one wanted to become one of them, so everyone was hoping for a safe way to appear. "Archers, where are the mages?" someone shouted. Hearing that he couldn't waste any more time, Gu Fei had no choice but to take a gamble. With a loud shout, the sword flowers scattered again, but this time, the target of the real sword was a warrior. But this time, the move seemed to be a bit old. The warrior blocked with his great sword, and Gu Fei didn't have time to react. The two swords clashed, and Gu Fei's hand went numb. Seeing that he had blocked it, the warrior became spirited and raised his hand to follow up with a slash. Gu Fei gritted his teeth and blocked with his sword. This slash caused Gu Fei's tears to flow out. It was really sad and wronged. The difference in strength was huge. Look at this strength warrior, he was as thin as a dog. Gu Fei was forced back a few steps by this slash, but his hand didn't stay idle. He took advantage of the situation and turned around in the direction he was retreating. This move also had a name, called Inverted Shadow. It was an ingenious move that specialized in sneak attacks against enemies from behind. How could the player behind defend against such an ingenious move? He was stabbed. Seeing that his health had dropped by half, he was scared out of his wits. Gu Fei's body took advantage of the situation to turn around. His other hand pulled out a knife and slashed at the player's head. The player broke out in a cold sweat. He reached out to block the falling knife, but in the end he caught Gu Fei's arm and blocked it. Gu Fei's other hand had already retracted his sword and was about to slash. The player had personally experienced the attack of this sword. He knew that if it came again he would be dead for sure. In a moment of panic, he didn't dare to think too much. He threw out both his arms and shouted, "Fuck you!" Gu Fei was thrown out with a whoosh, but he let out a sigh of relief. This was what he had been waiting for. Grandmaster of Combat level 30 skill, Hug Throw. He believed that the opponent was at least level 30, and that the opponent would use Hug Throw in a desperate situation like this. This time, Gu Fei's judgment was not wrong. He had already fallen out of the encirclement. Next he had to run. Chapter 75. Gu Fei landed on the ground, got up, and looked back. The large group of people behind him had already turned around. Gu Fei couldn't care less about admiring the scene and ran for his life. The archers, mages, and other long-range attackers behind him began to show their might. Gu Fei dashed through the rain of bullets. Other than the archers sniping, he wasn't afraid of anything else. However, the accuracy of the sniping helped Gu Fei this time. As long as he dodged one arrow, this round of sniping attacks would be equivalent to dodging all of them. Everyone would accurately shoot at the same spot. The unrestrained shooting caused their own side's close combat troops to be unable to pursue. There was no such thing as a team in the parallel world without getting hurt. If the close combat troops chased after him now, they would only become the target of the archer's fire. Moreover, they didn't think there was a need to chase after him. Everyone thought that Gu Fei, who had already been hit by a hug throw, would die with just an arrow or a spell. No one expected him to be able to dodge all of them without missing a single one. Does this person have eyes in the back of his head? An archer couldn't help but ask when he saw Gu Fei repeatedly dodging without turning his head. He actually got away? Seeing Gu Fei getting further and further away, everyone was in disbelief. Ever since the establishment of the Bygone Dust Guild in Moonlit Night City, they had already gotten used to being arrogant and domineering. Usually, when they went out to train, they saw the Bygone Dust Guild's emblem. Other people couldn't even make way for them, let alone fight for the leveling area. Just like that, the Giant Bull Guild had suffered a huge setback today. Letting someone kill the guild leader in front of everyone's eyes, and then escaping in front of everyone's eyes. Although it was a fluke that he escaped, the people of the Bygone Dust Guild didn't know that getting close to a Grandmaster of Combat to be thrown out was also within Gu Fei's calculations. Has anyone identified his class and equipment? Seeing that there was no hope of catching up to the other party, the former vice-guild leader of the Dust Guild and the second in command of this operation, Lan Yi, spoke. Lan Yi was a mage. Just now, he had mixed in with the crowd and arrogantly threw a fireball at Gu Fei. He thought that he could easily blow up Gu Fei's body into 1,000 pieces. Who knew that in the end, he could only watch as the fireball flew behind Gu Fei's but until it was extinguished. Damn, how much agility does this guy add? Lan Yi grumbled in a low voice. In a situation where he didn't know the other party's class, he couldn't figure out how to add points. Lan Yi was secretly glad that he didn't say, "Don't move, I'll do it," in time. Otherwise, he would lose a lot of face. No, we can't appraise it. Several of the guild's appraisal experts reported the vice guild leader's question. You didn't appraise it? Isn't your appraisal art already at level 10? A few appraisal experts looked at the strongest expert among them. That's right. Maybe he's also maxed out like me, but his proficiency is higher than mine. The expert of the experts said. Where did this guy come from? Honest. He said he's from the Black Hand mercenary group. A player who had been playing with a knife outside the door and had interacted with Gu Fei said. Those idiots? Lan Yi was startled. He clearly didn't believe that there was such a powerful person in the Black Hand mercenary group. This guy is pretty stupid, the guy playing with the knife said. Before he left, he purposely ran over to tell me that he was the one who killed the guild leader. If he didn't say it, we wouldn't have known. Too arrogant. We must kill him to avenge the guild leader. Everyone expressed their opinions. Lan Yi saw that the crowd was riled up and immediately gave orders in high spirits. He divided the guild members into several small teams and scattered them to every corner of Moonlit Night City. Find the people from the Black Hand mercenary group. Lan Yi ordered. Do we still need people here? Someone asked. Bullshit, we've already handed in the quest. Lan Yi said. These words undoubtedly helped Gu Fei a lot. After escaping the encirclement, Gu Fei didn't stay idle. He headed towards the coordinates of the quest that had just been given. When a person was lucky, nothing could stop them. Gu Fei had used Baptism of Fire 3 times and had a 30% success rate. When he was surrounded, he used the enemy's Embrace Throw to escape. It really was a lucky day. However, his luck clearly hadn't run out yet. After running 2 streets towards the coordinates, he saw a person running towards him in a panic. Gu Fei saw that there was no number, so he didn't pay too much attention to it. But right after, he saw another person holding a bow and arrow come out from the side of the street and chase after this person. Gu Fei looked over and was overjoyed. This person's number was his new target. He didn't know if he was still killing people or if he wanted to clear his PK points. If it was the latter, then he could only say that he was very unlucky. Gu Fei pretended to watch the fun and moved to the side. When that person passed by him, he suddenly tripped his foot. The person's reaction was fast. He quickly jumped up and wanted to jump over, but who knew that even when Gu Fei extended his leg to trip him, he still had a trick up his sleeve. Gu Fei chased after him and lifted his foot, forcefully tripping the person's foot. The person didn't fall to the ground, but he staggered. Gu Fei didn't show any mercy and chased after him with his sword. Once someone closed in, the archer's fate was already like a candle in the wind. With a bow in one hand and an arrow in the other, he was flustered and didn't know how to parry. Soon, Gu Fei's second attack arrived. The archer wanted to dodge, but he couldn't escape from Gu Fei's sword technique. He was hit again and quickly retreated to increase the distance between them. Unfortunately, this archer didn't seem to be full agility. His speed was on the same level as Gu Fei's, so he couldn't increase the distance between them in a short distance. Gu Fei caught up and attacked again. After 3 strikes, the archer was finally captured with a bang. The quest was completed, so he had to go back and hand it in. This time, Gu Fei didn't dare to be careless. He walked toward 4th Street, careful with every step. When he arrived at the entrance of the quest issuance office, he paced around for a long time, checking all the corners where he could hide. There were no ambushes. As for the quest hall, Gu Fei saw that there were many players going in and out. There was a lot of traffic, so he believed that even if there was an ambush, it wouldn't be too difficult to escape. He immediately walked in. Just like the last time, Gu Fei's mask only attracted some casual attention. Gu Fei didn't want to stay here for too long. He quickly returned the quest, received a new one, and left. Walking on the street while waiting for the quest to update his coordinates, he suddenly felt something strange behind him. Gu Fei didn't make a sound. He paid attention to his surroundings and quickened his pace. When he was almost at the intersection, he suddenly ran like crazy. He turned and rushed to the next intersection. Then, he turned again and hid behind a wall. Not long after, Gu Fei saw a skinny figure appear at the end of the street. Looking around, he realized that it was a girl. Gu Fei carefully observed the other party's attire and didn't find the emblem of the former Dust Guild. For an arrogant guild like the former Dust Guild, its members were all afraid that others wouldn't know they were members of the former Dust Guild, so they all wore their emblem in the most eye-catching place. All the people Gu Fei had seen before were like this. This person probably wasn't from the former Dust Guild. If she was, she wouldn't be alone. Gu Fei walked out from behind the wall. But he was still cautious and carried his sword behind his back. "Girl, who are you looking for?" Gu Fei asked. The girl turned around and saw Gu Fei. She grinned. "I'm looking for you. Thin." She was really too thin. Gu Fei looked at the girl and only had this feeling in his heart. He only felt that it would be satisfying to grab her and break her. "Who are you?" Gu Fei asked. "Lu Xia?" The girl said. "What's Lu Xia?" Gu Fei asked. "I'm called Lu Xia. Your name is quite interesting." Gu Fei said. "What about you?" Lu Xia asked. Gu Fei didn't answer and asked, "Why are you looking for me?" "To catch you." Lu Xia said. "Catch me?" Gu Fei gripped his sword even tighter. He had already thought of 7 or 8 ways to take down the opponent at this distance. 27149. "Isn't that you?" Lu Xia smiled. A close combat mage from Cloud City? Gu Fei was shocked. He didn't know how the other party saw through him. But his face didn't change. "I don't know what you're talking about." Lu Xia smiled again. "I've already accepted the quest. In my eyes, your number 27149 is floating above your head." Gu Fei was startled. It seemed that the other party wasn't lying. So he didn't hide it anymore and directly asked, "How did you know?" "I was in the quest posting hall. I saw your PK value of 27,149 suddenly go from 10 to 6. This meant that you accepted the quest to kill a player with a PK value of 4. I happen to know that our Moonlit Night City has a guy with a PK value of 4, so I was a little suspicious that you were here. So I accepted the quest to catch you and waited there to see if you would come back to hand in the quest. In the end you really did come back." Lu Xia said. Gu Fei sighed. Such a large number of PK points could easily expose his identity. "I wanted to follow you, but you were surrounded by players from the past world. I was about to go to the revival point to find you, but I didn't think that you would be able to escape." Lu Xia said. "I was just lucky." Gu Fei said. "So I continued to watch your PK value. I thought that if there were any changes, it would mean that you had completed the quest and that you would definitely come back to hand in the quest. In the end, I waited until you did." Lu Xia said. "You're too smart." Gu Fei smiled bitterly. "Now you've caught me. If I don't catch you, can you do me a favor?" Lu Xia blinked. "What favor?" Gu Fei asked. Lu Xia obviously knew that his "I won't catch you" didn't have much weight, so he said it very casually. Gu Fei naturally didn't take it too seriously, so he casually asked. "Take off your mask and let me see what you look like." Lu Xia said. Gu Fei didn't even think about it and almost subconsciously refused. Hiding his identity had already become a habit of his. Lu Xia asked. "Nothing. But if you don't take off your mask, how can I treat you to a drink?" Lu Xia blinked. "Why do you want to treat me to a drink?" Gu Fei asked. Because you didn't agree to my request, so I want to change it." Lu Xia said. "Why do you want to kill that pitiful person called Non-Smiler?" Lu Xia suddenly asked. "I was asked by someone." Gu Fei said. "Then can you also be asked by me to kill someone?" Lu Xia said. Gu Fei refused again. Chapter 76. Lu Xia looked very aggrieved as he pouted and said, "Why not again?" Gu Fei sighed. "I haven't cleared my PK points yet. Besides, why would I kill people for no reason?" "Then why did you kill that Non-Smiler?" She said. "That's a bad guy." Gu Fei felt that his tone was very childish, like he was coaxing a child. "I want you to help me kill a bad guy too." She said. "Oh, how bad?" "Come with me," she said. Gu Fei pondered for a moment before following behind Lu Xia. Gu Fei wasn't familiar with Moonlit Night City, so he didn't know where he was going. He saw that she stopped and came to a door, knocking rhythmically a few times. Not long after, the door was opened. The leader poked his head out and looked around. He saw Gu Fei and was very nervous. "Who is this person?" I was the one who found him. Lu Xia replied. Alone? The person frowned. Let's go in first. She pushed him away and pulled Gu Fei in. It was a smaller room than Amethyst's guild, and there were 5 people including she. Gu Fei was at a loss, looking at she and waiting for her explanation. The people you see right now are all because they offended someone in Moonlit Night City, so they can't play properly now. You only see these few, most of them aren't online, and some of them have already announced that they're not playing anymore. She looked sad. Is it that serious? Gu Fei said. Someone sighed. Normally we kill them on sight, and we can't join any guild or mercenary group. We're treated like a plague by the players, so how can we play? I'm already level 30, but what about now? I'm level 23, so I can't go out and level up. There are only a few leveling areas, and we have to go to a fixed place to do quests. We can't avoid them. Let's go somewhere else. We won't stay in Moonlit Night City, let's go to another city. Gu Fei said. Other main cities? Someone mumbled. Where are they? Through the Black Dragon Mountain Range is Cloud City. Gu Fei said. Everyone's eyes lit up and they immediately stood up. Then let's go now. Lu Xia hurriedly stopped him. Hey, don't forget we still have to vent our anger. What are you venting for? Someone said impatiently. If you can run, then run. In the beginning you couldn't hide, but now you can. Hurry up and leave. As he said that, the few of them swarmed towards the door. Underwillow wanted to pull them back. Stop fooling around. One of them swung his arm and pushed Lu Xia away. The few of them walked out of the door without looking back. Lu Xia was stunned on the spot, tears of grievance welling up in his eyes. Your friend? Gu Fei asked. Maybe. Lu Xia rubbed his eyes. Forget it, don't be sad. You should follow them to Cloud City. Our place is much more harmonious than here. Gu Fei said. Then why did you come to our Moonlit Night City? Lu Xia said. I'm an exception. Gu Fei said awkwardly. Although he came to Moonlit Night City and caused a lot of trouble, to him, this place was much more harmonious than Cloud City. I'm not going, I have to vent my anger. Lu Xia's tone was firm. Then you can do it. Gu Fei nodded and also wanted to leave. Help me. Lu Xia looked at Gu Fei. Gu Fei really didn't have the heart-wrenching determination of those guys just now. He sighed and said, It's not that I don't want to help, but I'm here alone to seek refuge. My strength is limited, how can I help you? But you can even kill Silver Moon. Lu Xia's face was full of expectation. Gu Fei sighed again. Who are you talking about? It's called Boundless Mang. Lu Xia said, This person is extremely bad. The most we did was steal his monsters. Most of them didn't even mean it. In the end, we were killed by him and his people. He even spread the word that if any guild or mercenary group dared to take us in, they would kill us all. Right now, we're like street rats in Moonlit Night City, everyone wants to kill us. So tyrannical? Gu Fei was dumbfounded. Today, he had learned something new. Lu Xia continued, Right now, only us thieves can rely on stealth to come online. The others don't come anymore. How pitiful. Gu Fei's sympathy began to overflow. Can you help? Lu Xia's lonely and helpless expression undoubtedly added fuel to the fire. Gu Fei finally nodded. I'll try, but I can't guarantee anything. But you have to help me prepare first. When Lu Xia heard Gu Fei's reply, she swept away her gloomy look and in an instant, her face glowed with radiance and beauty. Tell me, what do you need? Help me buy some equipment from the auction house, especially clothes. It needs to be different from what I'm wearing now. Also, if there's any accessories that increase the chance of attacking with fire spells, give me a few as well. Gu Fei ordered. But I don't have money right now. Lu Xia was stunned when he heard this request. Gu Fei took out his wallet and gave 200 gold to Lu Xia. Go. Lu Xia took it dumbly, as if he couldn't believe this was real. After thinking for a while, he said, When I go out, you can't stay in the house. You have to add me as a friend and I'll set up the permissions for you. No need, I'll wait outside. Gu Fei walked out. He didn't want to expose his identity. Lu Xia took the money and snuck to the auction house. Gu Fei didn't stay idle either. He used this time to chase after the coordinates he received. Unfortunately, the target this time wasn't in the city. Gu Fei followed the directions and realized that he was almost out of the city. Just as he was hesitating whether he should continue chasing, he suddenly slapped his head and remembered something. He didn't add Lu Xia as a friend. If he ran all over the place, how would he contact him? Thinking of this, he hurriedly went back the way he came. He finally found Lu Xia's house. He went up and knocked. The door opened, but he couldn't see anyone. Seeing that it was Gu Fei, Lu Xia revealed himself from stealth. "I thought you left." Lu Xia let out a long sigh. Gu Fei smiled and walked in. Lu Xia took out a bunch of items from his pocket and threw them on the table. Burning Mage Robe, plus 7 intelligence, plus 10% fire magic damage, 100 gold, Blessing of Fire, necklace, plus 6% fire magic attack rate, 10 gold, 2 rings of fire, 7% fire magic attack rate, 10 gold, 1 with 6% fire magic attack rate, 12 gold. There's a badge with 7% fire magic damage, but the seller marked it at 50 gold coins. I didn't buy it. There's 68 gold coins left. I'll return it to you. Lu Xia introduced the items one by one and passed the money to Gu Fei. Not bad. Gu Fei held it in his hand and looked at it. Actually, he didn't know much about the prices. Even if he did, he wouldn't be able to say anything. In a normal game, the setting of the main city in this parallel world could be understood as 2 different servers. It was hard to say whether the prices were the same or not. Gu Fei changed the items one by one. At this time, including the fire baptism, his fire magic damage was at 49%. It was almost a 1 out of 2 attacks. In addition, compared to the beginner's robe, this robe had 7 intelligence and fire magic damage, so the damage of the enchantment would be even more terrifying. The damage of the enchantment could also be strengthened by the attribute that increased magic damage. After putting on the robe, Gu Fei asked Lu Xia, "What's his name? Where can I find him?" "He's not online yet, but I know his daily routine. When the time comes, I'll bring you to him. I'll watch you take care of him in stealth." Lu Xia was very excited. "Not necessarily. Maybe he's being taken care of by someone." Gu Fei said, "Since so many of you can't do anything to him, he must have a lot of companions around him, right?" Lu Xia nodded. "Right, what's this person's class?" Gu Fei asked. "Cleric." Lu Xia replied. Gu Fei frowned. This was a class that he had never fought against before. Currently, among the 7 main classes in the game, clerics and paladins Gu Fei had never fought against each other. After all, the skills of these 2 classes were mainly support, so they wouldn't be able to use the charge trap. On the other hand, Gu Fei didn't care much about support classes and had almost no understanding of them. It was just that when they were surrounding non-smilers, he heard Brother Yu and the others analyze the enemy situation. It seemed that if a cleric added points to Constitution, it wouldn't be easy to kill them. "What kind of points?" Gu Fei asked Lu Xia, looking very professional. "It should be intelligence and spirit." Lu Xia replied. Clerics were weak in strength and dexterity, while intelligence and spirit were strong, especially spirit. Currently, there were 2 types of points in the game. One was Constitution, increasing one's own survival rate. The other was Intelligence and Spirit, increasing the effect and speed of recovery. Most people would choose the more stable Constitution, and those who would choose to add Intelligence and Spirit were mostly experts who were confident in their skills. Of course, Gu Fei didn't know about this, but when he heard that this cleric didn't add points to Constitution, he felt a bit more confident. As he was thinking, Lu Xia suddenly shouted in surprise, "Ah, he's online." Gu Fei smiled bitterly. Normally, you wouldn't be this happy when he's online. Lu Xia was a bit embarrassed, but quickly returned to normal. Usually, when he's online, he'll go from the Priest Academy to the nearest tavern and gather some people to train together. But today, there might be a change. "But?" Gu Fei asked. "Because you just killed their leader, Silvermoon." Lu Xia said. "Is he also from the past world?" "He's so overbearing, of course he's from the past world." Lu Xia said helplessly, then suddenly asked, "I heard you killed Silvermoon in the tavern?" Gu Fei nodded. "Which one?" Lu Xia said as he took out a map and spread it on the table. Gu Fei couldn't tell which one it was, but he remembered the coordinates. He roughly searched on the map and pointed. Silvermoon and the others are probably waiting for Boundless Mang to come online, and then they'll train together. So, the place where Boundless Mang came online should be. Lu Xia's fingers swiped on the map and finally tapped on the safe zone closest to the tavern. The Mage Academy should be here. Chapter 77. Where are we now? Gu Fei looked at the map. Lower Willow pointed. It's quite far. By the time we get there, he might not be in the tavern anymore. Gu Fei looked at the distance on the map. Yes, but do we know where he'll go? Lower Willow said. Where will he go? Gu Fei asked. He'll probably go to the dungeon to visit Silvermoon. Lower Willow said. So we can visit prisoners. Then where is this dungeon? Gu Fei asked. Lower Willow looked at Gu Fei for a full 5 seconds. So we can visit prisoners. This kind of question sounded like something a noob would ask. It was hard to believe that the person in front of him was the top assassin in the parallel world. Oh, it's here? Gu Fei found the location of the dungeon. If we hurry, we can intercept him on the way. Let's go. The two of them went out together. Lower Willow said to Gu Fei, I think you know this, but let me remind you. You have PK points, so if you enter the dungeon, it'll be seen as surrendering. Oh, I don't know. Thank you for reminding me, Gu Fei said. The two of them quickly rushed towards the dungeon. Lower Willow pointed out the map to Gu Fei as he ran. With our speed, we can intercept him at this point, unless he doesn't take the shortest route. Gu Fei nodded. The two of them quickly arrived at the location Lower Willow pointed out. Gu Fei found a corner to hide in while Lower Willow hid by the side of the road in stealth mode. Show me the person, Gu Fei finally said to Lower Willow. After waiting for about 2 minutes, Lower Willow ran to the corner where Gu Fei was hiding. They're here. Lower Willow was very excited. Gu Fei poked his head out to look. There were quite a few people. Some of them were faces that he had seen before. They were indeed from the guild. The one at the front, Lower Willow said. At the very front, Gu Fei searched with his eyes. That's a woman. That's right, it's her, Lu Xia said. A woman? Gu Fei repeated. She is Silvermoon's wife. Lu Xia nodded. Gu Fei nodded. All right, let's go. What? Lu Xia was taken aback. I didn't say I was going to do it now, did I? I've seen a few of them, and they're not easy to deal with, Gu Fei said. Lu Xia nodded. If only she was alone. There will be a chance. Gu Fei patted the willow tree. Lu Xia was shocked. You can see me? As she spoke, her figure emerged. Her stealth state would be cancelled upon contact with anyone. It's not just me. Everyone can see it now. Gu Fei smiled. What do you mean? Lu Xia looked at Gu Fei. I want to see if this woman is as cruel as you say. Gu Fei said calmly. He suddenly pushed Lu Xia into the middle of the street. The people from past dust arrived just in time and bumped into Lu Xia. Gu Fei heard a scream from outside. It's you, you damned brat. You still dare to come out. Sneaking a glance, the people from past dust had already stopped in their tracks. The leading woman's almond-shaped eyes were wide open. Her expression was cold and fierce. She was pointing at Lu Xia and cursing. Lu Xia was thrown out by Gu Fei. Although she didn't know what to do, she still straightened her back and didn't have any intention of retreating. She quickly retorted, Why can't I come out? Is this game owned by your family? Because I've said it before. I'll kill you every time I see you in the game. Since you don't know what's good for you, I'll kill you every time I see you. How impressive. Suddenly, someone interrupted the conversation. Gu Fei looked in the direction of the voice. There was no one there. He looked up again and saw a guy squatting on the roof. He was admiring his fist while glancing down from time to time. It was as if the ground was under his feet. No matter who it was, this kind of appearance was considered to have some strength of character. But Gu Fei, who recognized him, felt disgusted. The coward's savior, the idiot in Gu Fei's mind. Who are you? The people from past dust pointed at the roof and cursed. Me. The coward's savior, I've long disliked you people from past dust. Come and kill me if you can. The coward's savior patted his chest as if he was King Kong. A few people from past dust rushed out and wanted to climb the roof. The coward's savior took 2 steps back and continued to shout, "Come and chase me, come and chase me." Gu Fei was furious. This guy came out at this time and messed up his plan. From the conversation he had with Lu Xia in the vast wilderness, he was still unable to determine if this person was the kind of unreasonable guy that Lu Xia had described. Just as he was about to observe for a while longer, this coward's savior came out and interrupted him. "Ignore him." Vast Mang stopped the few past dust members from climbing the wall. "We'll deal with him later. Deal with this girl first. Don't let her sneak away." A few people heard this and immediately turned to Lu Xia. The coward's savior stomped on the roof. "You bunch of trash, come and hit me if you can, come and hit me." Vast Mang sneered, "Trash, let me tell you, from this moment on, Moonlit Night City is no longer suitable for you. Hurry up and scram as far as you can. If you want to die, continue to wander around here every day. I'll kill you every time I see you. You're really cruel." This time, it was Gu Fei's turn to speak. He walked out from the corner while clapping his hands. Everyone was startled. "Who are you?" The same words that were used to scold the coward's savior were thrown over. "Master." The coward's savior shouted. "Who's your master?" Gu Fei was furious. "Master, don't think that you can fool me with a change of clothes. You're such an outstanding man. Every action of yours is so clear and outstanding. Your melancholic eyes." Before the coward's savior finished, everyone vomited. Gu Fei's face was red. Fortunately, it wasn't too obvious with the mask. He walked to Lu Xia's side and said, "You go first." "Do you believe me now?" Lu Xia asked. Gu Fei nodded. "Please." Lu Xia bowed to Gu Fei. "I don't think there's a need for that." Gu Fei was stunned. But before he could say anything, the coward's savior became anxious. He stopped reciting and leaped off the wall. "What the hell are you doing? I found Master first. I should be the one to bow first." After saying that, he also bowed to Gu Fei. "Master, please." "What nonsense!" Gu Fei roared. "Master, don't be like this. It's the 21st century. Do you still need to kneel and bow?" The coward's savior smiled mischievously. "I don't know him. Really." Gu Fei said sincerely to the people around him. The faces of the people from the past had already turned green, especially that boundless Mang. He pointed at the 3 and shouted, "Kill, kill them all. You can't judge a book by its cover. You're a pretty lady. How can you be like this?" Gu Fei said as he pulled out his sword. Lu Xia was stunned. "Didn't you say that some of these people are hard to deal with?" "That was a lie." Gu Fei smiled. "Master, I'll help you." "Junior sister, keep up." The coward's savior stepped forward and stood beside Gu Fei, looking serious. "I'd better stay away from this lunatic." Gu Fei hurriedly dodged 2 steps to the side. The opponent's close combat professions had already rushed forward. "Mantis Fist." The coward's savior roared and prepared to meet them. But he was kicked back 2 meters by Gu Fei. "If you use Mantis Fist again, I'll kill you." "Yes, Master." The coward's savior nodded and bowed. He turned around and shouted, "Seven-sided Mantis Fist." Gu Fei wanted to cry but had no tears. He could only feel his anger. Coincidentally, a thief had sneaked up on them while they were talking. At this time, he was already beside the 3 of them. His murderous aura flashed here and there like he was choosing a target. Gu Fei immediately flipped his sword and kicked him twice. "Mantis Fist! Mantis Fist!" The thief cried and shouted. I wasn't the one who shouted that. The boundless Mang was just about to cast a healing spell on the first person who had been attacked. When he heard this, he immediately put away his staff and said with a cold face, "Useless, you deserve to die." The coward's savior, who had suffered greatly under Gu Fei, actually had a few tricks up his sleeve. The level 0 straight punch followed by the level 12 uppercut and the level 30 hug throws skillfully through a heavy armored warrior. But a warrior was a warrior. The term instant kill was not applicable to warriors in the parallel world. The hug throw could have knocked Gu Fei half to death. But this warrior took 3 hits and climbed back up as if nothing had happened. The boundless Mage quickly cast a healing spell. The coward's savior's attack was in vain. Gu Fei kicked away the thief at his feet and quickly rushed into the vast expanse of grass. In his eyes, the others weren't targets. They were just PK points. It was best if he could avoid them. However, as a well-trained team, they protected their clerics very well. This was especially true for clerics who had poor survivability in the vast expanse of the forest. As soon as Gu Fei's side revealed this intention, the other side quickly gathered around the vast expanse of land. Even the guy who was fighting with the coward's savior abandoned him. On the contrary, the boundless Mage didn't appreciate it. What are you afraid of? There are so many people, what are you afraid of? Go. As he spoke, he once again commanded everyone to charge forward. Gu Fei fought carefully in this fight. He was constantly worried about his PK points. He was so depressed about this setting that he wanted to vomit blood. He always went easy on his opponents, and the priests in the boundless Mage were quite skilled. Those who were injured by Gu Fei would immediately cast a healing spell, causing the other side to become more confident as they fought. They smiled as if they were enjoying it. Gu Fei was filled with anger and looked at the coward's savior. He was only impressive when he first attacked, but now he was being chased around like a dog. If he stopped for a moment, he would be dead. He was still gritting his teeth and persisting. Gu Fei felt his chest heat up. He roared, "Damn it, I'm not going to give way." After saying this, he used Tang Sword 9 strikes and slashed at the guy in front of him. Previously, Gu Fei's habit was not to attack a person a second time. But now, he didn't care about that anymore. He slashed at a person while ensuring that he wouldn't be hit. The attack of the fire baptism wasn't scary. What was scary was its enchantment. At this moment, the chance had increased to nearly 50%. It looked like flames were flying everywhere. The effect of the burning robe was also obvious, and the enchantment damage was increased to another level. The boundless Mage couldn't keep up with Gu Fei's sudden change in rhythm. Before it could save him, a member of the past dust disappeared under the flames of Gu Fei's sword. "PK points, I'm here again," Gu Fei cried. Chapter 78. In group battles, it was easier to use the Night Streak sword, but Gu Fei didn't change it. This was because he had already found the key point of the battle. The other side had a priest like Boundless Mage to rescue them from behind. This was something that Gu Fei had never experienced in the few large-scale battles he had participated in. In Gu Fei's many battles, he had either retreated after one attack and the priest didn't have time to react, or the enemy felt that they didn't need the priest's help at all. But this time, Gu Fei encountered a team with a cleric as the core. In the vast expanse, the cleric commanded the battle while casting healing spells. In this situation, Gu Fei's 49% fire attack was disruptive to his own rhythm, as well as Boundless Mage's rhythm. Whoever could persist and not make a mistake under this kind of interference would be the final winner. This seemed to be a battle between Gu Fei and the people surrounding him, but in reality, it was Gu Fei and the Boundless Mage behind them. Don't give him a chance to make 2 consecutive attacks. Everyone attack more closely. Boundless Mage shouted, reminding everyone to stand in position. Gu Fei didn't get the chance to focus fire on one person. Most of his time was spent dodging and blocking, and he was almost hit by the thief behind him several times. Although he could hit his opponent with a slash, even with a fire attack, it was impossible to kill him in one hit. Boundless Mage followed up with a regeneration, and Gu Fei's slash was for nothing. Under Boundless Mage's timely command and adjustment, the situation was back to square one. The other side revealed a satisfied smile. "Didn't you say you weren't going to give way? Come and kill us." After that, everyone burst into laughter and continued to attack Gu Fei with their weapons. Gu Fei smiled faintly. He wasn't anxious or annoyed, and continued to deal with the gap between the people, swinging his sword when it was unexpected. Everyone else retreat. Second Tiger, Whirlwind Slash. Boundless Mage commanded the battle. Everyone quickly retreated a few steps. A warrior stepped forward, shouted, and activated Whirlwind Slash. There was a famous saying in Saint Seiya, the same trick wouldn't work twice. This famous saying was equally effective for a kung fu master like Gu Fei. Moreover, the skills in the game were more rigid. For example, Whirlwind Slash would spin once it was released. It could be said that there was no variation at all. The moment the opponent moved, Gu Fei's saber had already pierced through the gap. With a clang, he borrowed the force to fly to the side. This flight was not like a Grandmaster of Combat's hugging throw, which would cause the body to stiffen. This was a simple physical phenomenon. While Gu Fei was flying, his body could still move flexibly. He balanced himself in the air and landed steadily on the ground. He grabbed his sword and slashed at the guy closest to him. The warrior called air who was still spinning in circles. Everyone's jaws dropped and their eyes widened. What kind of person was this? He could even block Whirlwind Chop? They thought that Gu Fei blocked the Whirlwind Slash with brute force, but in reality, it was all about technique. "Master, you're so cool," the savior of cowards shouted as he continued to run like a dog. The eyes of previous reincarnation had already realized that this Grandmaster of Combat was nothing to worry about. The difficult one was Gu Fei. This person did not run around like the Grandmaster of Combat. He was clearly fighting everyone head-on, but no one could do anything to him. "What are you all standing there for? Hurry up and surround him. Leave a gap. Archers and mages, get ready too." Boundless Mang commanded as he frantically healed the people who were being slashed by Gu Fei. No one would have thought that to deal with just one person, they would need the cooperation of both melee and ranged professions. That was why the mages and archers in previous reincarnations lineup had not joined the battle yet. At this time, the mages raised their staffs and the archers knocked their arrows. They were all ready to go. But how could Gu Fei not have thought of this? He began to weave through the crowd with all his might. The mages and archers had no way to aim at him. In the parallel world, there was no immunity to damage from the same party. If the mages and archers used the skill, they would most likely be blocked by their own people. The situation was exactly the same as before. Neither side could do anything to the other. "Mages and archers, find a place to fight," Boundless Mang yelled. Gu Fei revealed a satisfied smile. He continued to dodge, block, and counter. Boundless Mang was a little confused. If this continued, he would obviously be at a disadvantage. Then why did he still want to waste time like this? Boundless Mang faintly felt that he seemed to have overlooked something. The more he thought about it, the more anxious he became. He hurriedly ordered the few people who were chasing after their cowardly savior to stop wasting time and surround Gu Fei. Perhaps it was right to call for help from the beginning. This guy was really difficult to deal with. Who is this guy? Boundless Mang thought to himself. He secretly used Identify on Gu Fei. From his equipment to his level to his class, everything was unknown. The Identify failed. Boundless Mang became even more anxious. He kept urging the mages and archers to move faster. At this moment, there was a sudden change in the battlefield. A bandit screamed in pain and fell to Gu Fei's blade. Before he died, he turned around and looked at Boundless Mang in astonishment. Boundless Mang was stunned. When Gu Fei slashed another person, and she hurriedly wanted to use a recovery spell, she noticed a major problem. She had used up her mana. There were no potions in the parallel world. At least, no one had seen one yet. When players were leveling up and recovering their HP and mana, they had to temporarily retreat to the side and wait for automatic recovery in a static state. They could also eat food or fruits to recover their HP and mana. In combat, there was a certain amount of automatic recovery, but it was negligible. Stillness didn't mean that you just had to stand still. Boundless Mang kept releasing recovery spells. Although she did not move her feet, she was definitely not in a static state. In order to enter a static state, the players had to stop attacking, moving, and releasing skills for 30 seconds. Boundless Mang suddenly realized that she had not entered a static state even once during the process of providing support. That guy, there were several times when he was in a dangerous situation, but he still chose to attack. This choice was not because he desperately wanted to defeat his opponent, but to prevent himself from entering a static state if he did not move for 30 seconds. All the fighting and attacks had not been meaningless. His opponent was scheming against him. Boundless Meng finally realized what was going on, and she was so shocked that she was covered in cold sweat. Another scream came from the battlefield. Another person was killed by Gu Fei. The members of the former Dust World all turned around and looked at Boundless Meng in surprise. "Meng, what is she doing?" someone shouted. "She has no mana left." Gu Fei smiled and explained for everyone. As expected, it was within his calculations. Boundless Meng felt dizzy. She watched the group of people being tormented by Gu Fei, but she could not help. At this moment, she would quickly enter a static state. But even in a static state, she could only use a recovery spell when her mana was recovered. That would be like trying to put out a burning cart of firewood with a cup of water. By the time all of them recovered, how many people would be left on the battlefield? But even without her help, with so many people on her side, how could they be suppressed by him alone? Now was not the time to think about that. Recovering mana was more important. Boundless Meng hurriedly took out an apple from her pocket. Eating a fruit in a static state could recover mana faster. Basically, it only took a few bites to see the effect. Boundless Meng hurriedly opened her mouth to bite the apple. Gu Fei saw this and smiled faintly. "Isn't it a bit late to eat now?" Boundless Meng was startled, but had no time to care about what Gu Fei meant. She continued to chew. "Look behind you," Gu Fei said. Boundless Meng was startled. She suddenly thought of something. Lower Willow. She didn't know when the battle started, but this girl had disappeared. At this moment, she remembered that this girl was a thief, and thieves could sneak, as well as use the skill backstab from behind. Before she could turn around, she already felt a piercing chill on her back. Lower Willow's figure appeared behind her. The others from past Dust screamed and abandoned Gu Fei to come back to help, but it was already too late. Intelligence priests didn't have much HP, not to mention the defense of the priest robe was on the same level as the mage robe. What's worse was that she had no mana left, so she couldn't heal herself. Her speed was also slow, so she couldn't escape Lower Willow's pursuit. After getting backstab, Lower Willow caught up and stabbed her 3 more times. Boundless Meng finally unwillingly fell to the ground. Before she died, she didn't care about Lower Willow. Instead, she stared at Gu Fei hatefully. "Haha, I finally killed you." Lower Willow cheered, but she was quickly surrounded by the members of Past Dust. In a few moments, she was finished off. Since Lower Willow had just killed Boundless Meng, she undoubtedly had 1 PK point. Now that she was killed, she received a heavy penalty of dropping 2 levels. Even so, it didn't lessen the smile on her face. The moment before she disappeared, she shouted at Gu Fei, "Thank you." Gu Fei waved at her as if sending her off. At the beginning of the battle, the moment when the coward's savior showed his magical powers. Lower Willow asked softly behind Gu Fei, "Do I have the chance to kill her myself?" "Yes, but you'll probably die too." "You want to perish together?" "Very good." "When is the chance?" "When she doesn't have mana." The chance finally came. Lower Willow sacrificed 2 levels, and Gu Fei gained another 3 PK points. But at this moment, his blood was boiling. PK points? Let's put that aside. Facing the hateful gaze of the other party after killing Lower Willow, Gu Fei suddenly tore off the burning robe on his body and changed into the Black Moonlight spiritual robe. He stuffed the flame baptism into his pocket and pulled out the Dark Moonlight sword. It's him. He's the one who killed the guild leader. Some members who participated in the previous encirclement operation recognized the black-clothed and purple sword Gu Fei. "That's right, it's me," Gu Fei roared. With a wave of the sword in his hand, a circle of dust flew everywhere. "Come on, don't you want to kill me? Try stepping into my sword circle." Gu Fei fell in love with this sentence. No one moved. And on the roof, a few figures suddenly appeared. Some people began to secretly aim at Gu Fei below. Gu Fei suddenly turned around, his sword already pointed at the guy on the roof. "Fireball! Shoot!" Gu Fei shouted. A fireball leaped up from the tip of the sword, suddenly flying towards the archer on the roof who was knocking an arrow. "So he's a mage. But a mere fireball?" The archer sneered. He didn't dodge and slowly drew his longbow. "Watch me snipe," the archer thought to himself. But he didn't have the chance to release this arrow. When the fireball exploded on his body, he disappeared. Chapter 79. Everyone was at a loss. A few people on the roof even looked down on the street, thinking that the archer must have accidentally fallen. When everyone realized that this wasn't a special situation, and that the archer had simply been killed in an instant, everyone went crazy. Being killed by a fireball was unheard of since the start of the game. As one of the most basic spells for mages, fireball was the fastest to cast, consumed the least mana, and had some advantages such as automatic tracking. At the same time, it had the lowest attack and was an unavoidable misfortune for a basic spell. To be able to kill someone in an instant with a fireball, how powerful would the character's magic attack be? Everyone knew how much magic attack could be brought by adding points to a mainstream leveled 30 character. Thus, it could only be said that Gu Fei's equipment was too terrifying. But Gu Fei was clearly holding a sword. How could a sword have magic attack? Everyone found it inconceivable. In fact, it wasn't hard to understand. Gu Fei's equipment wasn't very overpowered, but it was high-end equipment, gold and purple among high-end equipment. It was like a person armed with an AK-47 fighting with a saber and a spear. The firepower was completely different. Gu Fei couldn't completely reach the sword coefficient of the Night Streak sword, so he couldn't display the sword's maximum physical damage. But he could reach the sword's magic coefficient, even though he had never added intelligence. This was something that even Gu Fei himself didn't know. The reason he could achieve it was because of the mage's natural magic coefficient bonus and the Night Spirit robe's spell mastery +1. Even Gu Fei himself was shocked when he killed the other party with a single fireball. Damn, the power of the spell was too great. In comparison, his martial arts damage was so weak. Gu Fei felt wronged and felt that his martial arts weren't worth it. Then he pointed the sword at the sky. A mage on the roof reacted quickly. After a moment of shock, he shouted, "Fuck, the heavenly fire wheel, run." The guys on the roof immediately covered their heads and scurried away. Gu Fei was stunned. What was that? Heavenly fire wheel, a level 24 mage skill. Summoning a wheel of fire that descended from the sky to spin and burn the earth. It was a spell with an AoE effect and was currently the main skill for mages to level up. Gu Fei was at a loss. He hadn't heard of this term because he hadn't learned it yet. Gu Fei only had 3 spells in his list: level 0 Fireball, level 6 Resistance Ring of Fire, and level 30 Chain Fireball. Gu Fei didn't even know what level 12, level 18, and level 24 spells were, let alone learn them. The people on the rooftop were terrified as they tried to escape. If Gu Fei had thrown a heavenly fire wheel, would the people on the rooftop still be alive? At that time, the few of them were huddled in the corner of the room, wanting to launch a sneak attack on Gu Fei. In fact, it was too suitable for a heavenly wheel of fire to surround him. This person probably didn't want his PK points to increase so much at once, so he released a small fireball as a warning. Everyone felt that Gu Fei had shown mercy. These people were all on the road to level 30 and had already accumulated a lot of experience. They wouldn't be willing to die at this time. Gu Fei blankly withdrew his sword and turned to look at the other people on the street. In these people's eyes, Gu Fei's sword was demonic and illusory. It felt like they were about to be devoured. "Run!" someone shouted, and everyone began to flee in all directions. The fast thieves ran with sprinting, the slow thieves went into stealth, and the slowest warrior cried, "Wait for me." He wiped his tears as he chased after the disappearing thieves. Why are they all running? Gu Fei was greatly disappointed. He had just mentally prepared himself to bear more PK points. These people were too unkind. Didn't they know that wasting other people's feelings was a very shameful thing? "Master!" The coward savior, whose back was sore from running, came over. "Don't call me that." Gu Fei was in a bad mood. Of course, he wouldn't go so far as to attack the coward savior. "Are you okay?" Gu Fei asked. "I'm fine. Let's go." Gu Fei waved at him. "Where are you going?" The coward's savior followed closely behind. "Wash my PK points." Gu Fei was in tears. After the passion, there would always be lingering impulsive punishments. PK points was only one of them. It was a pity that the clothes that he had just bought to hide his identity had been exposed again. The PK quest that he had received before still hadn't disappeared. Gu Fei checked the coordinates and rushed over. At this time, his PK points had returned to 11. Many people from Bygone Dust had come to the quest office on 4th Street of Moonlit City. Lan Yi, the second-in-command of Bygone Dust, asked, "Are you sure it's the person who killed the guild leader?" Several people hurriedly nodded. "I recognize his clothes and the sword in his hand. This person is a mage?" Lan Yi was very surprised. On the side, Boundless Mang was also in disbelief. This person couldn't be identified, and he didn't use any skills in battle, so they couldn't identify his class. Later, they heard from the guild members that this person had used Fireball, so he was without a doubt a mage. Lan Yi looked at the players from Moonlit Night City and said, "There's no PK points above 4. He just killed 4 of you? Including me for..." A certain archer was ashamed. He was the one who was killed by Gu Fei's Fireball. If he had dodged, he might have been able to escape, but he was too confident. "So, he definitely isn't a player from Moonlit Night City," Boundless Mang said with certainty. This reminded everyone. Lan Yi shivered and said, "Could it be the mage from Cloud City?" Everyone entered the overall quest board. Number 27149 was at the top with a bright red PK points of 11. He was the only one in the entire parallel world with a PK point in 2 digits. Currently, the hottest topic in the forum was no longer the melee mage's weird points, enchanted equipment, or battle techniques. What everyone admired the most was his fearless spirit. In the parallel world, even the most passionate PK points would be carefully controlled to keep their PK points below 10 or even 5. Too high a PK point would easily attract the bounty hunter's pursuit, and it would take too long to clear the PK point. Not everyone could bear the pressure of losing 2 or more levels after dying for such a long time. The 15 PK points of 27149 was an unsurpassable peak in many people's hearts because it was a record that no one would dare to challenge. "What do we do next?" Lan Yi asked Boundless Mang. Boundless Mang didn't have a position in the guild, nor was she a core member, but as the wife of the guild leader, people would give her some face. She was the nameless but powerful type. Not to mention, this girl was an expert. She was a beautiful and playful girl. She was the best in the game. She was very popular in former Dust's guild. "Do you even need to ask? Of course we're going to get a quest." Boundless Mang said, "Call all the guild members online." In a town with a strong PK atmosphere like Moonlit Night City, the guild was clearly much more united than the one in Cloud City. After all, you could rely on yourself to level in the game, but you had to rely on your friends to fight. How could you have more stable friends? The guild was naturally the best choice. Moreover, with the protection of former Dust's guild, the benefits in Moonlit Night City were obvious to everyone. In this kind of guild, the guild leader or any other person with real power would have a lot of influence. Lan Yi and Boundless Mang called out in the guild channel. Whether they were willing or forced, the members of former Dust who were online all flocked to the bounty quest post from all directions. Get the 27149 bounty quest. Find this person, but don't alarm him. If you find him, just follow him carefully. Boundless Mang gave the order in the guild channel. The members of former Dust lined up in an orderly manner to get the quest. The surrounding players were shocked. What kind of big move was former Dust planning? Which guild was he going to destroy? The coordinates have been refreshed. A group of people who had already received the quest suddenly shouted, "If you receive the coordinates, head out." Boundless Mang waved his hand. Not long after, the members of former Dust who didn't have a bounty quest received the 27149 bounty quest and set out according to the coordinates. Boundless Mang looked around and suddenly shouted, "Everyone, the player with 11 PK points on the PK list, 27149, is currently in our Moonlit Night City. Everyone hurry up and get the quest." The missions office immediately went into an uproar as everyone asked, "Really?" Boundless Mang nodded his head. However, the waves he set off couldn't compare to Cloud City. After all, those who hadn't personally experienced Gu Fei's pursuit of unlawing wouldn't be as interested in him. From a quest point of view, the reward of 11 PK points was very generous. However, most people had to consider whether or not they were strong enough to earn this bucket of gold. Who was this person? Just based on PK points alone, it would be an understatement to say that 1 in 10,000 people dared to reach double digits. Based on the current number of players in the parallel world, there was less than 1 in a million. The main reason why Moonlit Night City's bounty quest office was so lively was that many people needed quests to clear their PK points. This kind of person would never touch this thorn. Most people only had 1 or 2 PK points. Was it necessary to touch this demon with 11 PK points? If they failed to kill him and got killed instead, they would drop 2 levels. In the end, those who would accept this quest would either be greedy for the quest reward of 11 PK points, or they would be curious about this melee mage. It seems that not many people have accepted the quest. Lan Yi saw the situation and said to Boundless Mang. Boundless Mang smiled. That's for the best. I was afraid that this guy couldn't handle too many people. What do you mean? Lan Yi didn't understand. I just want his PK points to be higher. That way, it'll be fun to farm him. Boundless Mang said. Lan Yi sucked in a breath of cold air. This woman was too sinister. Chapter 80. Gu Fei, who had just finished off his target, was very sad. After killing so many people and exposing his identity as a mage, combined with the rules of the PK quest, if the former guild members weren't too stupid, they should have already guessed that he was 27,149 on the PK list. In this way, there was no point in changing his appearance again. He could imagine that it wouldn't be long before there would be thousands of troops chasing after the coordinates he had moved to. He had no choice but to spend the next 20 hours running endlessly. Farming PK while running for his life? This idea wasn't realistic. Gu Fei estimated that the place where the wanted quest was issued had already been set up with a trap. If he went there again, he might not be sent to prison, but he would definitely be cut down. At this time, the quest was already completed, but he didn't dare to go back to hand it over. Now there was no chance to surrender. Gu Fei sighed. Another main city? Gu Fei had this idea, but when he opened his friends list, he found that Hongshan Yixiao wasn't online. Hongshan Yixiao shouldn't be considered the king of information, he was the king of exposure. Without his exposure, Gu Fei only knew the mountain road to Cloud City. Returning to Cloud City, the situation was exactly the same as now. Gu Fei looked up at the sky and sighed. The world is big, where is my home? Wasn't this game a little too deep? Just as he was worrying, a few players appeared in his field of vision, looking around and running quickly. Found me. Gu Fei thought, although he was also constantly moving, unless he was running in a straight line, it was impossible for everyone to be behind him. Going around in circles, there would always be times when he was unlucky and crashed. Accurately calculating the coordinates of each location and developing a perfect route, this work needed time. Gu Fei didn't have the energy right now, and he wasn't familiar with the terrain of Moonlit Night City, so he couldn't use this method for a while. Master, you go first, I'll help you block. The coward savior had been following Gu Fei 5 meters away. Gu Fei acted like he didn't exist, and this guy didn't say a word. Now that they saw the situation, they immediately became active. To be able to guess my situation and know that those fellows didn't come with good intentions, this fellow isn't that stupid. Gu Fei smiled faintly. When he saw them approaching, he gripped his sword tightly. There were 4 people in total. Looking at the weapons in their hands, they should be 2 thieves and 2 archers. Seeing that Gu Fei had no intention of escaping, the 4 of them slowed down and approached him. Gu Fei took the initiative to greet him and said with a smile, "If you want to earn my PK points, you'll have to bear the consequences." The 4 of them hurriedly waved their hands. "You misunderstand," said the man in front. "We admire you very much, so we want to be friends." As they spoke, the 4 of them put their weapons back into their pockets and spread their hands at Gu Fei, indicating that they had no ill intentions. Gu Fei looked at the 4 of them in confusion, but his feet continued to move quickly. "Let's talk on the way. It's not a good idea to stop in one place like this." The other party expressed his understanding of Gu Fei's situation. Gu Fei didn't say anything. The four of them caught up and walked side by side with Gu Fei, but they maintained a certain distance between them. It seemed like they wanted to completely dispel Gu Fei's suspicions. "What do you want from me?" Gu Fei asked as he ran. "Brother, what you did in the city today was really satisfying," the other party said. "How did you know?" Gu Fei asked. "The news has already spread throughout the city." Mang Mang's face was deathly pale as she stood at the wanted mission area and flipped out. "All of us brothers in the city had a great time watching her," the other person said. Gu Fei smiled faintly. "What exactly do you want from me?" "Nothing much, we just want to be friends with you, brother," the other person said. "I'm called Yun Zhongmu." "What's your name, brother?" Gu Fei shook his head and didn't say anything. "Brother, it seems like you still don't trust us." Yun Zhongmu laughed bitterly. "Brother, with your current situation, you should be more careful." Gu Fei laughed. "So, let's go our separate ways?" As he spoke, Gu Fei prepared to change directions and part ways with the four of them. "Brother, wait." Yun Zhongmu caught up again. "Is there something else?" Gu Fei didn't stop. "Actually, I'm from Moonlit Night City's Northern Autumn Guild. To tell you the truth, us small guilds have always been bullied by the previous world's guilds. We've endured it for a long time. We've been planning to band together and teach those bastards from the previous world a lesson. Brother, since you have a grudge against the previous world, why don't you team up with us? Let's teach them a lesson together." Gu Fei's footsteps stopped. "That sounds good," he said. Yun Zhongmu nodded. "The guild specifically sent me to negotiate with you. These three are representatives from the other three guilds. If the four of us join forces, we can definitely fight against the previous world." "If that's the case, what else do you need me to do?" Gu Fei asked. Let's be honest. The previous world has always been suppressing us small guilds. If it's not kill stealing, then it's poaching. Even though our four guilds have a lot of people, most of them are normal players. We don't have anyone like you who can fight against 10 people. Having a valiant general like you is a threat to the other side's experts. It's also a great boost to our morale. Yun Zhongmu spoke with a bit of excitement. "That makes sense," Gu Fei said. "In addition, this is an excellent opportunity," Yun Zhongmu said. "Oh. Right now, the entire previous world has received a bounty to look for you. This means that they're all heading towards your coordinates. If that's the case, it'll be very easy to lure them into our ambush," Yun Zhongmu said. "Ambush?" Gu Fei didn't understand. 100 archers, 100 mages. They're lying in ambush on both sides of Nightsong Valley. As long as you go in that direction, the entire previous world will follow you in. When the time comes, the archers and mages hiding on the two cliffs will attack together. We've already tested it out. The archers and mages can both attack the valley from the two cliffs. They'll be crippled in a single breath. Then, the melee classes can rush in and wipe out the remaining members. All the members of the previous world will have their levels reduced by 1. What could be more satisfying than this? Yun Zhongmu was excited. Gu Fei laughed. "So you don't need to rely on my strength. You want to use me as bait to lure the previous world into their trap." Yun Zhongmu laughed. "If there's such a simple method, then why do we need to take the risk and fight with them? As long as you agree, we'll immediately make arrangements. We'll be done in 15 minutes. Gu Fei sighed. "Unfortunately, even if I agree, your method won't work." Yun Zhongmu's expression changed. "Why?" Gu Fei laughed. 100 archers? 100 mages? If you want to gather these two forces, there's no way you won't leak out. Are you going to notify them in the guild, or do you want to talk to them one by one? Out of the 200 people you picked, not a single one is a friend of the previous worlds? This is just a game. Gather them all in 15 minutes? That's too easy. Are 200 people all online at your command? Of course not all 200 people are online, but they should be about the same. Maybe 100 people will be enough," Yun Zhongmu said. Gu Fei was still laughing. "All right, stop beating around the bush. Your lie is too big. There are too many loopholes." "Brother, what do you mean?" Yun Zhongmu was furious. "Do you think I'm lying to you?" "Of course. Gu Fei said, "You don't have a plan for 200 people? Fuck, then what's the point of talking so much with you? Here." Gu Fei suddenly took a step to the right, and with a twist of his foot, he swung his sword behind him. There was a scream in the air, and the figure of a thief appeared. He held a dagger in his hand and pointed it in front of him, preparing to use backstab. "Hiding behind us and chasing us isn't easy, is it?" Gu Fei faintly smiled at this person. He only slashed once before returning his hand. He coldly swept his eyes over the 4 people. "No, it should be 5. Let's go. I don't want to increase my PK points," Gu Fei said to the 5 people. The 5 people looked at each other. The thief who had been hit by Gu Fei's sword suddenly went berserk. He continued to stab at Gu Fei while yelling, "Hurry, he doesn't dare!" Before he could finish his sentence, Gu Fei had already fiercely stabbed him again. He then turned around and dodged the stab. With another slash, the thief was finished. "I said I don't want to increase my PK points, not that I don't dare," Gu Fei said to the remaining 4 people. Yun Zhongmu's face turned red and white. The other 3 were also at a loss. They didn't know if they should hurry and leave or pull out their weapons to fight. "You're Non-Lafa's friend?" Gu Fei suddenly asked. "How did you know?" Yun Zhongmu was shocked. Gu Fei laughed. "This quest can't be accepted in a party. Those who do it for the quest reward are all alone. You guys ganged up to plot against me. Your goal is clearly to kill me, not to receive the reward. Apart from people from the past world, only Non-Laf would have this kind of wish. Seeing how you were gnashing your teeth when you talked about the past world, it seemed quite real. You shouldn't be someone from the past world. So, you can only be Non-Lafa's friend." Cloud Midnight could only stare in shock. "You guessed it too? I have to hurry. Take me to Non-Laf." Gu Fei turned around and ran. An archer stealthily took out his bow, but Yun Zhongmu reached out and stopped him. "Don't look to die." "What?" The thieves hiding behind him all know that this guy definitely has some kind of scouting equipment. Yun Zhongmu said, "Then what do we do?" "Fuck, we can't beat him, so we can only endure. We're being bullied by people from the past world every day. Can't we take this?" Yun Zhongmu cursed. "Then, which side should we support, this person or the past?" "Support my ass. It's best if they all die." Yun Zhongmu cursed and led the other 3 in the opposite direction. "Old Yun, I think your ambush plan at Nightcry Valley was quite interesting," someone suddenly said. "Interesting my ass. Where am I going to find 200 people? With 200 people, I'll be standing on rooftops and ambushing people from the past world every day." Yun Zhongmu was indignant. "Why don't we cooperate with this guy?" Another person suggested. "Bullshit. Non-Laf is my brother. This guy killed Non-Laf by level 8, which is the same as killing me by level 8. He wants me to cooperate with him? Dream on. If this goes on, how are we going to survive in Moonlit Night City? Fuck this trash. He killed Non-Laf by level 8, so why did he only kill level 1 when he killed Mang Mang? Be more spirited and kill Mang Mang until she's level 0. This dog." Yun Zhongmu cursed the entire way. "Chew." Gu Fei sneezed in the middle of escaping. "Master, you've caught a cold," the coward's savior said from 5 meters away. "If you call me master again, I'll really kill you," Gu Fei said angrily. Chapter 81. Cloud City, Little Ray's Bar. In a private room, Han family young master was playing with a money bag, making clinking sounds as he shook it. "I finally have money again." He was filled with emotion. Yutian Shenming stared at the dark red money bag, drooling as he asked, "How much is it?" In the game, a dark red money bag could only hold 1,000 gold coins. 420 gold coins? Han family young master said proudly, "What do you want to drink?" "It's my treat." Brother Yu was just about to speak when Han family young master coldly glanced at him. "You know what you want to drink, right?" "Of course." Brother Yu smiled, called Little Ray over, and ordered 5 glasses of the cheapest liquor. "Where's Sword Demon?" Unscathed in battle took the liquor and asked. "He's still leveling up. He'll be there in a moment." Han family young master said. "TSK Disket." Brother Yu praised. You must have been stimulated by Qianli. Recently, everyone's enthusiasm for leveling up has been very high. Everyone was silent. Gu Fei's level suddenly jumped to 31, which was a big blow to the experts. Have you guys been on the forum recently? Brother Yu suddenly said. What's new? The liquor was already served, Han family young master asked after taking a sip. The biggest guild in Moonlit Night City is currently chasing after Qianli, and they seem to know that he's 27149. Brother Yu said, is this guy a piece of shit? Why does he get stung by a swarm of flies? Han family young master was surprised. As they were talking, the curtain of the private room was lifted, and Sword Demon walked in with a tired face. He collapsed on his seat, looked at the four people and said, I just received a letter from Qianli. Letter? The one you want to get from the mailbox at the city gate? Imperial Sky Shenming asked. Sword Demon nodded. At each of the 4 gates of the town, there was a mailbox. Players could mail letters or items here. Friends who weren't born in the same city would often use this opportunity to help out with money or equipment. It was rare for them to exchange letters. Even though letters allowed you to speak freely without a word limit, in an online game, very few people would write that many words, unless it was a love letter. Thinking of this, everyone looked at the Sword Demon with a strange gaze. Sword Demon took out the letter from his pocket and threw it on the table. Can we? Everyone looked at Exen and asked, do you two have any secrets? Sword Demon rolled his eyes and was too lazy to answer. Everyone rushed forward to snatch the letter at the same time. In the end, it was Yutian Shenming who was faster. Since the money robbery incident last time, they had worked hard on their reactions in this area. At present, the speed of their nervous reflexes was basically the same. It was just that in the end, when it came to the actual speed of their hands, the agility in the game was naturally the advantage. I'll read it. Yutian Shenming quickly opened the letter. Brother Sword Demon, experts, hello everyone. The first paragraph. Picking up the pen, I miss everyone very much. I've been away from Cloud City for, many hours. I'm now in Moonlit City, the main city near Cloud City. It takes 2 hours to cross the Black Dragon Mountain range to reach here. The PK atmosphere here is strong, the big guilds bully people, and the players' lives are very hard. I completed a chain quest in Luminous Village near Moonlit City and accidentally leveled up to level 31. I also got 2 pieces of equipment, hehe. Damn, this guy is too showy. After a brief comment, Yutian Shenming continued to read, at present, I miss Brother Sword Demon, experts, and Cloud City very much. I can only wait until I clear my PK points and come back to see you again. Goodbye. That's it? Everyone asked. Yutian Shenming nodded. Everyone snatched it again and passed it around one by one, weighing each word carefully. Is this person crazy? He writes this when he has nothing to do, Yutian Shenming said. Han family young master was the last to take the letter, and after a few glances, he said, the letter is signed by Qianli Izue, but this letter is actually not sent from his mailbox. Sword Demon nodded. It was sent by someone called Coward Savior. It seems that this guy is trapped, he can't even send his own letter. Han family young master sneered. Is there a place where people are trapped but not dead? Unscathed in battle was puzzled. Safe zone? Everyone in the safe zone who received a wanted mission will be killed. He's obviously not in prison right now, and his level hasn't dropped either. Strange. Brother, you said. Han family young master slowly stood up. Let's go. But everyone asked. Moonlit Night City. Han family young master said. Outside of Moonlit Night City in Silent Night Valley, Gu Fei sat on the ground facing a bonfire, holding a piece of barbecued meat in his hand, eating happily. Coward, your skills aren't bad. What level are you as a chef? Gu Fei asked Coward Savior as he ate. Life skills don't look at level, only proficiency. I haven't been learning for long, around 200 proficiency. Coward Savior said. Gu Fei didn't know how much proficiency was considered high, so he didn't make any comments. Also, don't call me coward, I call Coward Savior. If you don't call me that, the meaning will change. Coward Savior said. If you don't call me master, then I won't call you coward. Gu Fei said. I stopped calling you that a long time ago. Coward's savior said. Yeah. I'm just calling you back what you called me before. Gu Fei said. He finally found a way to stop Coward's savior from calling him master. Coward's savior wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He could only continue to bury his head in the barbecued meat on the fire rack. Gu Fei was eating when he glanced at the time. He hurriedly stood up, holding the sword in one hand and the barbecued meat in the other. He shouted towards a direction, "Chain fireball." After eating a few mouthfuls of meat, a fire dragon rose from the tip of the sword. "Release," Gu Fei said as he swallowed the meat. The fire dragon shot out from the tip of the sword and instantly turned into 4 small fireballs, flying towards a certain direction. But there was clearly nothing there. Coward's savior saw this scene, but he seemed to be very used to it and didn't care at all. Just as the 4 fireballs flew out 2 meters, the empty ground became hazy. An NPC monster was spawned and was hit by the fireballs. The monster roared and rushed towards Gu Fei. "Fireball, shoot." Gu Fei chanted again as he ate meat. A small fireball flew out and blew the monster into nothingness. "Amazing, amazing." Coward's savior said a few words of praise. He looked like he was already numb. But if it was any other player in this game, their eyeballs would definitely pop out of their sockets when they saw this scene. Silent Night Valley was a level 50 leveling area, and the monsters were all around level 50. But what about the players at this time? Their levels were all stagnant at level 30. Only a few valiant people had broken through to level 31. Killing monsters 20 levels higher than them was a scene that game designers would cry if they saw it. Yi Xiaowu cried. When he saw Gu Fei leisurely eating meat and killing monsters in Silent Night Valley, tears streamed down his face. This time, it was the monitoring group that was alerted first. They discovered that there was actually someone killing monsters in the supposedly empty level 50 leveling area. They immediately tracked him and found that everything was normal. But this character's high magic attacks still attracted attention. After checking Gu Fei's equipment, the monitoring group suspected that someone had opened a back door for Gu Fei, allowing him to have such high-level equipment so early. Yi Xiaowu, who had paid attention to this character many times, naturally attracted everyone's suspicion. After being called to the monitoring group, Yi Xiaowu smiled bitterly and took out the prepared video. This is the entire process of him completing this chain of quests. Take a look and see if there are any violations. A group of people leaned over in front of the video to study it. Damn, I knew something was going to happen. Yi Xiaowu sighed. When Gu Fei completed the chain of quests and obtained the Moonlight Spirit Robe and Night Streamer Sword, Yi Xiaowu had expected this to cause a stir. It was just that he realized that Gu Fei didn't seem to like using spells and always used a sword to hack and kill, so he was hoping for a fluke. Who knew why this guy suddenly became enlightened and used spells to fight? After understanding Gu Fei's situation, Yi Xiaowu could only smile bitterly. High-level equipment allowed Gu Fei to have the magic attack to kill monsters above his level. Putting all his points into dexterity and his own skills allowed him to dodge monsters' attacks with ease. Imagine a level 50 thief. If they put all their dexterity and strength into it, at most they would be faster than Gu Fei, but their attack would not be as good. This way, they could face level 50 monsters, so why couldn't the current Gu Fei? Mages had the lowest HP and defense, so having the strongest AoE damage was the compensation for this class. Currently, Gu Fei hadn't used the biggest advantage of being a mage yet. Yi Xiaowu looked at his data and knew that this guy hadn't even learned the level 24 Falling Flame Wheel. Otherwise, if he were to burn in this level 50 leveling area, all the players in the parallel world wouldn't be able to match his leveling speed. But now, it seemed that this guy was only using the 2 offensive spells he knew to clear the few monsters around him. He was just using the high levels of the monsters in Silent Night Valley to avoid the players chasing him and wash away his PK points. What else could Yi Xiaowu do other than smile bitterly? Speaking of which, this guy's spell casting technique was also unparalleled, especially when it came to timing. This was comparable to an expert priest who was best at timing. In the game, Gu Fei was also bragging to the coward's savior. Timing. Do you know what timing is? The most important thing in hidden weapons is to grasp the timing. What's so difficult about placing a dead stake there and hitting it? In a real battle, which opponent will be like a stake that doesn't move and let you hit it? To deal with a moving target, you must grasp the timing, calculate the target's movement speed, and find his next foothold. Only then can the hidden weapon be shot out accurately. Of course, if it's an experienced opponent, he will keep changing his movement speed. So, it's very difficult to hit where you want to point. This requires you to improve your wrist strength, finger strength, and speed up your hidden weapon release. When the speed reaches a certain level, the opponent's change in speed will be negligible. Do you understand? The coward's savior replied in fear and trepidation. Gu Fei was overjoyed. He didn't expect there to be someone so interested in kung fu in the game. After talking for so long, his mouth was a little dry. Let's take a break. If there's nothing to do, who should I write a letter to? Gu Fei pondered. Chapter 82. The members of the Parallel World Monitoring Group were repeatedly studying the video of Gu Fei completing the mission chain. The video of the battle with Suo Tu when he first accepted the mission was already lost. At that time, Yi Xiaowu hadn't looked at Gu Fei in a new light. Here, the video froze. The member of the monitoring group pointed at Gu Fei and Little Rain in front of the church and asked Yi Xiaowu, "What did he find here?" Then he went to look for Murphy? Yi Xiaowu shook his head. "I don't know. What should we do if we find clues from here?" The member of the monitoring group didn't know the specifics of the mission chain. A high-level pharmacologist can find out from the traces of Murphy's blood on the ground that it's not human blood, Yi Xiaowu said. He doesn't seem to have done that, the member of the monitoring group said. He didn't? Yi Xiaowu nodded. Other than that, are there any other suspicious points? Everyone discussed. No, the data is all normal, including the last battle with the boss. We can only say that this person is too skilled. Someone reported. Then how do you explain this suspicious point? The member of the monitoring group looked at Yi Xiaowu. Yi Xiaowu spread his hands. Probably luck. There's no need for any reason. It's possible that he wanted to know about the deceased Murphy's situation. The monitoring group watched the video 5 more times and didn't find anything against the rules. The only thing worth suspecting was whether the relevant personnel had given him a hint about the mission. Everyone looked at Yi Xiaowu. Yi Xiaowu's expression was relaxed. He didn't feel any burden at all. At most, he had let it slip that the mission was in Luminous Village, but this was something that Eddie would have said when he gave the mission. It was just that Gu Fei didn't pay attention at the time, so there was no way to investigate later. What exactly did Gu Fei find in the church? Yi Xiaowu wanted to know more than anyone else. The monitoring group paid attention to evidence and wouldn't wrongly accuse the players in the game. Of course, they wouldn't come to a conclusion about Yi Xiaowu so easily. In the end, they just asked, the 2 pieces of equipment he got, according to their levels, what level are they? Around level 70, Yi Xiaowu said. Everyone was silent. Shi Feng had obtained a piece of level 70 equipment at level 30. Moreover, he could even use it to his full potential. It was not difficult to understand why he could easily deal with level 50 monsters. So this is a level 70 quest chain? However, it was completed by a LV30 player. The supervisory team's meaning was obvious. The difficulty of this quest chain was somewhat unbalanced. Our quest chain was designed with the abilities of normal players in mind. Do you think any random player can stop the boss from using the Wolf King's Fang? Don't even talk about level 30. Even if you took a level 70 account, you might not be able to do it. Some people aren't ordinary people. They can do things that ordinary people can't. Are you saying that our mission difficulty should be based on this kind of superhuman? Yi Xiaowu retorted, pointing at the scene of Gu Fei's battle with Adrian. Everyone fell silent. If there's nothing else, I'm leaving. Yi Xiaowu left. It was very strange. He had also wholeheartedly hoped that this Qianli would get drunk, but at this time, why did he have a kind of expectation for this character? In the game, at the entrance of the Silent Night Valley outside of Moonlit Night City, a group of Bygone Dust Guild players seemed to be at their wits' end. The leader, Boundless Mang, seemed to be extremely irritated. Not too far from the entrance, there were many other players. They pretended to take care of the sparse monsters around them while looking over. Seeing that Bygone Dust Guild was embarrassed, everyone was secretly happy. Everyone cooperated very well. A level 22 monster was chased by 5 people, but it escaped many times due to negligence in 5 minutes. Even thieves can't sneak in? Boundless Mang asked the people around him. A thief shook his head. No, the monsters here are too high-leveled. They can easily see through our stealth. 4 of our brothers have already died. You didn't even see that guy's shadow? Boundless Mang asked. Nope. The thief sighed. The people from Bygone Dust Guild followed the coordinates all the way here. At first, no one believed that Gu Fei would enter the Silent Night Valley. However, after circling around the valley and almost confirming all the surrounding coordinates, they could only helplessly accept this fact. Gu Fei's coordinates were indeed pointing straight into the valley. Bygone Dust tried to organize a team of various classes, but they could not take more than a few steps in. The monsters were too strong. The players' attack power was very insignificant, and their defense was too weak. The clerics were risking their lives on the side, and it required 2 or 3 clerics to take care of one person. This kind of fighting method could barely clear the monsters around them, but the consumption of HP and mana was too high, and there was no time to recover. If they encountered a slightly more concentrated area of monsters, what awaited them was a team wipe. They had just formed another thief team, trying to rely on stealth to find Gu Fei, who knew that the monsters here with high perception could see through the thieves' stealth. Without the help of the clerics, the thieves were extremely vulnerable. 4 died on the spot, and the rest had to use swift movement to escape. Boundless Mang was going crazy. He's a mage, how is he alive in there? No one could answer this question. No one knew that Gu Fei, as a mage, had the strength of a level 50. It could even be said that he was stronger. The coward's savior also realized that Gu Fei was really a professional player and couldn't help but be curious. Then why did you choose to be a mage in-game? Without waiting for Gu Fei to answer, he came to a realization. Oh, I understand. It's for better cultivation, right? Gu Fei didn't know whether to laugh or cry. In the game, you can accumulate some combat experience, but in reality, the NPC monsters' attacks are mechanical, and most players don't understand Kung Fu. Whether it's fighting monsters or PK, the experience is better than nothing. I came to the game to find a place where I can show off my skills. If I can find a way to improve my Kung Fu, then it'll be an extra reward. Then have you found it? The coward's savior asked. Gu Fei nodded. A little. For example, the control of strength, the judgment of attack direction, the grasp of attack timing, the choice of attack route, and so on. However, I still need to master these things myself. The game is very different from reality. Because of the difference in professions and point-adding methods, the difference in speed, strength, and even vitality between people is very large. This is impossible in reality. If you want to kill someone in the game, a normal thief needs 3 or 4 strikes. In reality, 1 move is enough. After Gu Fei said this, he jumped in fright. He didn't think that after he finished playing the game and connected to reality, he had already started researching ways to kill people. It seemed like killing people in the game had aroused his murderous nature. The coward's savior clearly didn't think that deeply. He only listened to Gu Fei and nodded. Then the tricks I learned in the game might not be useful in real life? Gu Fei nodded. The most important thing is that your speed and strength in the game are completely different from in real life. If you really want to use the game to improve your Kung Fu, then you should first add points in the direction of your real Kung Fu. Is that what you're doing? The coward's savior asked. Gu Fei laughed. You're confused. When I came to the game, using Kung Fu is my #1 priority. Training is secondary. I only need to add points to be able to display all of my Kung Fu. I don't need to be so demanding. And I've discovered that magic can also be used as a type of Kung Fu. Chapter 83. Gu Fei and the coward's savior discussed martial arts in Silent Night Valley. Time passed bit by bit and the players outside of the valley were starting to get impatient. Those that were there to watch the fun or those that had accepted the quest had all returned to the city. The only ones left were the people from previous world and Non-Smiler's friend, Cloud Twilight. Cloud Twilight and a few of his brothers were still pretending to fight monsters nearby. "Old Cloud, should we go back too?" one of the brothers said. The entrance to Silent Night Valley wasn't much of a leveling area. Even though the levels were moderate, the monsters were few and sparse. It was clearly not designed to be a leveling area. Cloud Twilight looked at the people from previous world and said, "Just looking at those bastards from previous world makes me feel good. You guys go back first. Let me enjoy myself a bit more. Be careful, Boundless Mang might be in a bad mood and cause trouble for you." One of them said, "Don't worry." Cloud Twilight laughed. "Non-Smiler's dagger is with me. I can use vanish. If the people from previous world come over, I'll just vanish for them." "Non-Smiler's wind whisper? Why do you have it?" one of them said in shock. "He's scared of being killed and is afraid of losing his equipment, so he sent it over for me to play with." Cloud Twilight said, "Oh, then enjoy yourself. We'll be leaving first." The brothers left. Cloud Twilight waved his dagger and continued to kill monsters while observing the people from previous world. "Mang, how about we leave first?" Lon E saw that there were a lot of people and couldn't stay any longer. "How long has it been?" Boundless Mang asked. "Almost 4 hours. Lon E looked at the time and then looked at the quest. His PK value has already dropped to 9. It was originally 11. "Alright, let's leave first. We won't waste anyone's time." Boundless Mang sighed. "What about you?" Lon asked. "I'll stay here and wait for that guy to come out." Boundless Mang said fiercely. "How can that be?" Lon E jumped in fright. "If he comes out, 1 or 2 people won't be able to stop him. Let's leave a thief here. When you see him come out, hide and report. There's no point in hiding. He has scouting equipment." Boundless Mang said, "I'll stay. I'm level 29 now anyway. It won't be a big deal if he kills me again. All of you leave." "Do you want me to stay and accompany you?" Lonnie said. Go, go, go." The vast expanse of grass chased everyone away. "I'll call you if there's anything. Then let's find a place nearby to level up." As Lon E spoke, he led the group of people he usually trained with and left. The others also dispersed. Dazzling Mang straightened his clothes and waved his staff to kill monsters in the surroundings. She was an intelligence-type priest. Her holy light orb had some attack power, and its casting speed was very fast. It was not a problem for her to deal with these scattered monsters. Not far away, Yun Zanmu's heart was pounding. Chance. The people from the Bygone Dust Guild had all left, leaving only this woman behind. Wasn't this a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? This woman was too amazing. Did she really think that no one would dare to kill her? Everyone in Moonlit City knew that as long as you covered your face, no one would know who you were after you killed them. Cloud Zanmu's heart was pounding. He finally made his decision. Gritting his teeth, he activated the thief skill, Stealth. Priest's movement speed was extremely slow. If a thief wanted to kill her, she wouldn't be able to dodge even if they ran over and stabbed her. Even if the opponent risked their lives to heal her, there would always be a way out. This was why priests didn't have the strength to solo any class. Dusk in the clouds moved stealthily, slowly approaching, sizing up his surroundings. He saw a few people walking over, but they definitely weren't from the Bygone Dust Guild. The people from the Bygone Dust Guild had all been escorted away by his gaze. This was a great opportunity. Cloud Zanmu gulped and quietly arrived behind the vast expanse of grass. Backstab. Cloud Zanmu successfully stabbed in with his sword. Dazzling Mang was in pain. Naturally, she was shocked. However, as an experienced priest, she wasn't in a hurry to see who was attacking her from behind. Instead, she immediately cast heal on herself. However, Dazzling Mang's heal was a step too slow. Another heal fell on her before she could react. Cloud Zanmu was also an experienced player. When he cast 2 heal spells on Dazzling Mang, he immediately sensed that someone had come to his aid. He turned around and saw that one of them was currently raising his arm. It was a priest casting heal. Cloud Zanmu was furious. Dazzling Mang was notorious in Moonlit City. I'm doing this for the sake of the people. Not only did they refuse to help, but they were also causing trouble from the sidelines. Who is this blind? Cloud Zanmu suspected that the other side didn't know that this woman was Dazzling Mang. Otherwise, as a player of Moonlit City, they definitely wouldn't be unable to differentiate between good and evil. Just as he was about to introduce Dazzling Mang's identity, there was a flash in front of him. A swift arrow had already shot him to the ground. You bastard! Cloud Zanmu cursed. This sniper shot was so powerful that it had almost killed him instantly. At this moment, Dazzling Mang had already turned around. She chanted and summoned a holy light orb. Cloud Zanmu wanted to use Vanish, but it was useless. Vanish didn't mean he was invisible. Dazzling Mang was so close to him that the holy light orb would hit him before he could vanish. Cloud Zanmu could only close his eyes and wait for death. Unexpectedly, another heal landed on Cloud Zanmu's body. The holy light orb's damage was insignificant compared to the heal. Cloud Zanmu wasn't glad that he was saved. Instead, he was surprised. This priest is so fast. His heal actually arrived before Dazzling Mang's holy light orb. Dazzling Mang is already an intelligence and spirit priest. Is this priest full of spirit? Looking at the newcomer, Cloud Zanmu froze. Damn, why is it another bitch? When the newcomer got closer, Cloud Zanmu finally saw her clearly. He couldn't help but sigh. Damn, this guy looks too much like a bitch. First, he saved himself, then he saved his opponent. Dazzling Mang was a bit confused. He wanted to continue attacking, but Cloud Zanmu had already activated Vanish. Dazzling Mang didn't know where he was. He was on guard while paying attention to the people coming over. There were 5 people in total. Looking at their equipment, there was a thief, a priest, a warrior, an archer, and a knight. This didn't seem like a leveling party. No leveling party would have such a balanced composition. Moreover, their leveling party didn't have a mage with large AoE firepower. This was almost impossible. They had already reached him. The knight pointed at Silent Night Valley and asked Dazzling Mang, "Miss, where is this?" Silent Night Valley, Dazzling Mang replied. "This is the place?" The archer was confused. "Are you questioning my ability to determine the coordinates?" The priest replied coldly. These weirdos had saved him and then saved that guy. Now that they were right in front of him, they wouldn't say anything? Dazzling Mang felt that he was a bit confused. Cloud Zanmu, who was hiding in stealth, was also very confused. However, after hearing those guys question, they didn't know where this place was. There was only one explanation: outsiders. "Miss, is this a high-level leveling area?" The knight asked Dazzling Mang again. Dazzling Mang nodded. "The valley is level 50. The knight nodded. Everyone reached out to the archer. "Take out the money." The archer's face was deathly pale. He trembled as he took out a money pouch from his pocket. He counted out 40 gold coins and divided them into 4 portions. These 5 people were naturally the guys from the child elite group. Before coming, they had made a bet. Since Gu Fei was being chased, but his coordinates hadn't changed, the 4 guessed that Gu Fei was hiding in a high-level leveling area, making it impossible for normal people to approach. Only Yutian Shinming thought that Gu Fei had used the same method as last time and found a cave to hide. In the end, no. Yutian Shinming, who had already divided the money, suddenly put the money back into the money pouch. "I still haven't seen him. Maybe there's a cave in this valley." "Impossible," Han Family Young Master said decisively. "The big map shares the same coordinate axis. Therefore, only the coordinates of Cloud City will overlap with the coordinates of the cave. With such a large number of coordinates here, this kind of phenomenon can't happen. Why didn't you say so earlier?" Yutian Shinming was astonished. "Nonsense, I already said how to earn your 10 gold coins. Stop talking nonsense and take out the money," Han Family Young Master said. Yutian Shinming looked at the other 3. They all looked away numbly. It was very obvious that they already knew about this situation. "You bunch of scum." Yutian Shinming angrily counted out the gold coins again. "Brother, you patted him. Study hard. As an expert, you're blind. You'll be a joke if others know." It was too late for Yutian Shenming to regret. Then what next? Do we go in or call him out? Unscathed in battle asked. Can we go in? Sword Demon looked at the entrance of the level 50 training area and was eager to try. In his mind, as long as Gu Fei could do it, he hoped that he could do it. Sword Demon himself didn't realize that his initial feeling of competing with Gu Fei had unknowingly been replaced by the feeling of, if he can do it, so can I. Isn't there a lot of people chasing after us? Why can't I see anyone around? Brother, you looked around. I'm not a person. Boundless Mang was unhappy to hear this. Brother, you smiled and didn't say anything. This girl was just a cleric. Would there be a cleric chasing after them alone? Boundless Mang had already heard some clues from their unconcealed conversation. You came from Cloud City to chase after a close combat mage? The 5 people were all startled. What's your name, girl? Brother, you asked. My name is Boundless Mang. Boundless Mang replied. What are you doing here? Brother, you asked in a questioning tone. I'm waiting for that guy to come out. Boundless Mang gritted her teeth. Anyone could hear her intentions. The 5 people were expressionless. Kill him? Yutian Shenming asked in the mercenary channel. Chapter 84. Although a lot of things had happened, it hadn't even been 24 hours since Gu Fei left Cloud City. Yutian Shenming asked in the mercenary channel, kill him? The first to respond was actually Gu Fei. Kill what? He must be very free. The 5 mumbled. Vast Mang, do you know this girl? Yutian Shenming asked Gu Fei in the mercenary channel. You guys know her? Gu Fei was very surprised. You know her? Nope. I just slashed her. Gu Fei said. Too vicious. Everyone sighed. She's quite a pretty girl. How could you do it? The biggest guild in Moonlit Night City is called Past Dust. The guild leader is called Silver Moon. This girl is his wife. Gu Fei briefly introduced the background. Oh, you know quite a lot. You're quite similar to me in the past. Brother, you praised. Not at all. I just slashed them all. Gu Fei was humble. Everyone, the young master of the Han family cleared his throat and asked with a smile on his face, we're here to find him. It looks like you're preparing to kill him? The mercenary group looked at Han family young master's smile and felt a chill in their hearts. This guy rarely smiled. It was said that there were only 2 reasons why he smiled so peacefully. One was that he was going to trick someone. The other was that he drank too much. It took them more than 3 hours to reach this place from Cloud City. Even if he drank too much, he should be awake by now. The conclusion could only be the former. Vast Mang was going to be unlucky, they thought. But they didn't know what Han family young master was going to do this time. Vast Mang had already answered Han family young master's question. But, you're alone? And a priest? Han family young master said, that person is very vicious. He's worse than a beast. It was too fake. The bystanders thought to themselves. She clearly knew that she was the wife of the guild leader of the largest guild, yet she still pretended to be concerned. Ha! Vast Mang laughed. It's not just one person. Our guild members are all nearby. Really? Han family young master continued to smile hypocritically. It was really dangerous just now. Too shameless. Everyone thought that at this moment, they were harboring evil intentions. They immediately began to change the topic to the hero saving the damsel in distress, trying to establish a relationship. As expected, the vast expanse expressed its gratitude to the Han family young master for saving them in time. You are a clergyman too, she said. As the 2 of them spoke, they went to the side to discuss their experiences as clerics, leaving the other 4 to the side. What are your thoughts? Brother, you asked everyone. I hope that the thief who was in stealth just now will appear again and stab this adulterous couple to death. Let's not help anyone. Let them heal each other, said Yutian Shenming. 5 minutes had passed. Why hasn't he appeared yet? I'm dying of impatience, said Yutian Shenming. How about I go? Sword Demon pretended to go in stealth. Forget it. The experienced and prudent unscathed in battle pulled back the hot-blooded youngsters. Han family young master and Vast Mang had talked enough about the cleric's past, and now they talked about the current situation. What grudge do you guys have with that person? Vast Mang asked. We are a mercenary group. Someone paid us a high price to kill him, said Han family young master. What's your name? Vast Mang asked. Han family young master. Han family young master introduced himself and then pointed at the other four. These are my underlings. Sword Demon wanted to go up but was pulled back by unscathed in battle with his strength advantage. Yutian Shenming wanted to shoot an arrow but was also seen through by Brother Yu. Not bad, you're all quite spirited. Vast Mang praised the four of them. So, still passable. The Han family's young master said. Another round of 2 versus 2 struggle. Actually, it's not a good idea to wait here. Han family young master finally started to get down to business. A level 50 training area. I think you guys have already tried, but there's no way to enter, right? Han family young master said. Vast Mang nodded. This guy is hiding here. His goal is obviously to wash away his PK points. Right now, he still has 9 points. So, he still needs 18 hours. Are you prepared to wait here for 18 hours? Han family young master said. I think he'll be tired. You know, this is a level 50 training area. No matter how strong he is, it'll be tough for him, right? Vast Mang said. Qianli, are you tired? Yutian Shenming asked in the mercenary channel. Tired? How could I be tired? I'm roasting meat right now. It smells really good, Gu Fei said. The few of them felt sad for Vast Mang. I really want to see her wait here for 18 hours and see Qianli licking his fingers as he walks out of the valley. Yutian Shenming said quietly. On the other side, Han family young master was still helping Vast Mang. Even if he's tired, where can he go after leaving the valley? Go back to the city and log off. Vast Mang also thought of this. That's right. Han family young master said, but if he walks out of the valley and sees you here, what will he do? He'll probably come up and kill me. Vast Mang said. Han family young master nodded his head. After killing you, he'll quickly return to the valley. Because he knows that it won't be just a cleric ambushing him here. There will definitely be more people waiting for him outside. Then what should we do? Vast Mang said. Retreat, leave the valley a few hundred meters away and arrange for people to be on the way back to the city. Try to find unfamiliar faces that he hasn't seen before, and don't wear guild badges. Han family young master said. There don't seem to be any leveling areas on the way to the city, so it won't be easy to arrange for people. Vast Mang said. What does that matter? Han family young master smiled. As long as he sees that there aren't any ambushes outside the valley, he can boldly walk out and immediately call for people to block the entrance. As long as he can't return to the valley, the coordinates refresh every 5 minutes. There's still a few hours left. Where can he go? All right. There's also the coordinates refresh. How did I forget about that? Vast Mang slapped his head and embarrassedly explained to Han family young master, his coordinates haven't changed for a long time. I almost forgot about it. Han family young master smiled. It's not too late to remember now. Then let's do it. Vast Mang said, thank you for your help. Not at all, our goal is the same. Han family young master said. Alright, what level do you need to kill him to? Vast Mang asked. Very flexible, we'll give you money for every level we kill. Han family young master said. Then you've earned big. Vast Mang laughed. We'll definitely clear his name. That's great. Han family young master said. Not long after, Lan Yi and the other former Dust Guild members rushed to the entrance of Silent Night Valley from all directions. What's wrong, Mang? Lan Yi rushed over and asked. We can't keep waiting like this. As Mang spoke, he explained the plan that young Master Han had proposed to everyone. Which one of you hasn't met that guy before? When you hear the signal, quickly rush to intercept him. The others, after he leaves the valley entrance, come and occupy this place. Wait. Han family young master suddenly interrupted. What is it? Vast Mang looked at him. Did all of your people take the wanted mission? Han family young master gestured with his hands. Of course. Vast Mang said. Han family young master smiled bitterly. If they took the wanted mission, then we'll just send him to jail. How can we make him drop his level? Vast Mang patted his head. I forgot about this too. How annoying, I was too impatient. About this, maybe some of them had wanted missions on them, so they didn't take it. Lonnie said. Who didn't take the wanted mission? Vast Mang shouted. No one actually responded. The Qinshan Guild was really too united. Those who didn't take the mission at the start all hurried to complete the mission on hand and then went back to take the 27149. From then until now, 3 hours had passed. No one was still carrying the original mission. Everyone had all changed to 27149. Everyone really did their best for the guild. And the wanted mission couldn't be cancelled. It would only be cancelled if the target was cleared of PK or sent to jail. This was the system's rule. Is there anyone who just came online? Vast Mang said in despair. Just a few people. I'm afraid they won't be able to deal with this guy. Han Family Young Master said, with the help of other people who had missions, it really wasn't easy to deal with him. It would be very easy to beat him to jail. Then what should we do? Vast Mang said. Han Family Young Master sighed deeply. Originally we just wanted to slack off, but now it seems like we still have to take action. Han Family Young Master looked depressed. You guys? I'm the only one who took the mission. Coincidentally, I'm a priest, so I won't attack. Han Family Young Master said. Look at him, this is called professionalism. We need to learn more. Vast Mang lectured the guild members. Then, the mission to seal the valley entrance will be handed over to you guys. We'll chase and kill him, how about that? Han Family Young Master said. That's great. Vast Mang nodded. Your people, if you see him, don't attack him. Maybe he's already been crippled by us. Be careful not to kill him. Han Family Young Master said. Boundless Mang Mang immediately gave the order. All right, we should also find people to block the dungeon. We can't give him a chance to turn himself in. Han Family Young Master said, if we wait for him to come out of jail, where can we find him without a name? Now that we can get his coordinates, it's really too convenient. Vast Mang nodded and immediately assigned some people. The target's coordinates are starting to move. You guys immediately go block the dungeon entrance. There's no need to fight with him. Warriors can hold him off and priests can heal him. Everyone nodded. Did you miss anything? Han Family Young Master thought. Lonnie raised his hand. I did. Speak. Can I ask who you are? Lonnie said. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. The one who spoke was Vast Mang. This is the Han Family Young Master and his underlings who specially came from Cloud City to kill that guy. Underlings. The 4 people clashed for the 3rd time. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.